Well, then I don't know.
That's kind of funny. That guy's been hounding me for 2 to 3 weeks on Twitter and Discord about his WireGuard issue, and I don't even use WireGuard products. And you got to figure the amount of effort that this Jeff individual has put into hounding me.
He could have solved 4 problems.
You sure fucking think so, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you think that? I mean, isn't that a weird thing? So, Jeff, if you're listening to the show, I mean, just think about the amount of time you have been internet stalking me, asking me to provide personal tech support to you, and ask yourself if that time would have been better spent just Googling the issue. I mean, that's, jeez.
Or asking somebody that used the product.
Yeah, I don't even use WireGuard. That's the other thing.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry I can't help you. You know, I should launch a special edition of Ask Chris and just take a few tech support calls. But until I do that, there's just nothing I can do for you. It's difficult. It's difficult for me. You're making me feel bad. You're making me stressed out and feel bad for that. All right, so let's check our shots. Let's see.
We can start Mumble for help, Chris.
Yeah. No, Discord, don't you know? Discord tech support. OBS, Rikai. OBS.
Well, but then you won't get the question from the free software people.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
You think I would weed out? But he's in there asking questions. I mean, you know.
I don't think I think he's just.
No, I didn't say it was. I'm saying it'll still get some people.
Well, I wasn't talking about weeding out. I was saying you need to use Mumble to be more inclusionary.
We have a light turnout so far on the Mumble so far.
That is true.
Because Wes doesn't show up, and boom.
Yeah, everybody shows up for that guy. They're like hair and beard. We get them everywhere.
So did you look out the window during the solar eclipse here?
I did.
Yeah. Did it get a little darker?
Yeah. It was. It reminded me like.
Like sort of like the beginning of a sunset or something.
No, it was actually really weird. It was very.
Oh, really?
It was very red.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, it reminded me of like one of the Mars missions on Doom. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
Because I looked out the window and then I ended up going outside because it was weird enough. It just everything had like a red haze over it, which is not what I expected.
Yeah. I was surprised when everybody got naked. That was weird.
Well, it was dark. You get a little bit of totality nudity.
I have a pre-show topic for us today. How about that?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it happens. So we'll have that here in a second.
I don't believe it, Chris.
I know, I don't either.
You I don't even think you planned the regular show, let alone a pre-show.
Lies.
I think that shit just falls in your lap.
Everybody knows that's how it works. All right, so let's check out. How's our chat room looking? Booms. Hello, chat rooms. I swear, no matter what I do, I can't get that top line not to cut off because when I go into here, it has this, everything gets marked as red, and then I clear it, and then when I tab out, either it puts a new line in there, or I can't even with this anymore. I can't even with this anymore. I just can't even with this anymore.
Yeah, the only way to do it is to have it as the active window, but you can't have it as the active window because then you can't switch.
Yeah, that is exactly what my...
If only our switcher communicated over D-Bus or something, rather than just sending keystrokes.
Nice, Eric. That looks great. Good picture. That's great. Damn, Z's, look at that. Yeah, I got some footage of it, but of course, casual or amateur photography while you're vlogging. That wasn't my intention, but
yeah.
There are some incredible pictures out there.
Indeed. I did watch the eclipse from Oregon as well, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, there was some. While where we were standing, I could see a lot of jets flying overhead to try to capture that. Yeah, look at that one.
Yeah, NASA had I think a dozen streams.
Jeez, that one's so pretty. From
all across the U.S. in the path and off to the side of the path, so you can see all the different.
So he got
actives.
above the fog. There was a massive. I don't. What do you call it? A front of fog.
Mm-hmm.
There's a massive front of fog.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't that great of a view.
Yeah, well, it's all, it's all for the, I feel like I don't want to talk about it because it's all vlog content. It's all for the vlog. It's all for the vlog.
Well,
we fought the Oregon fog.
turns out, Chris, you get another chance in 2024.
I think I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. It's all on the East Coast, though.
Go to Georgia.
There's actually a few spots in Texas where you'll be able to see it. So, maybe. Yeah, geez, that is pretty.
What if it ends up like not being a solar eclipse next time, but actually a laser that just cuts across the country? That'd be pretty cool vlog content.
That would be. I mean, I'd like to be there for that. That's for sure.
Just don't stand in front of it.
Yeah. That's a great picture. Look at that. Wow. Why did I turn off the music? I can't remember why I turned off the music. I was going to do something, but then I...
Play something?
Well, yeah, I'll actually check this out. So this is just a little teaser of what I'm going to put in the show. I wish the graphics were better. I wish I had higher-end graphics on this Linux rig. So Star Trek fans, if you like Star Trek, and you like The Next Generation, I encourage you to stop watching immediately, or tell your loved ones that you're going to be AFK from life for a little while. This is going to change a few things for us Star Trek fans. So this is Stage 9. The new version comes out today, but okay.
Having a time, Chris?
Apparently, we just had a little seg fault on the game, which hasn't been an issue before. I've played this before; has never crashed on me. But now we're gonna go ahead and shit ourselves. Apparently, maybe I'll turn down some of the settings and then go in and turn them back up. So we'll do medium, apply settings, launch.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I hear it too. I'll get it. There we go.
Oh, nice.
I'd like to really... there we go. So, yeah. So, this is... so, I'll fix that in a second. Apparently, let's see who it is that thinks it's a super great idea to fucking mention my name 10,000 times while I'm on air. Let's see who that was. It's really annoying. All right. So, what did I fail to mute? Did I not mute all of the things? Where do I tell? Can I tell where my name's getting dropped?
It might just be people messaging stuff that you have muted.
What? Do I have to mute it per... oh, I do have to mute it per instance, don't I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were all muted by default. I thought once I said it, I thought that's okay. Actually, that'd be so awesome if that was a persistent thing.
Well, you can just right-click the server, mute the server.
Okay. Oh, I can?
Yeah.
Oh, that's way quicker than going to the other thing. Good. I guess it's probably good that I don't have to mute it on all systems. That's probably good. Okay. That's better. So you can hear it in the background.
Barely.
So bear in mind, this is not the latest release with all of the new lighting improvements, and this is going to be medium quality right now. So I'll turn it up now that I'm in, because I've been able to run it high quality. Oh shit! Oh shit! All right, there's high quality. Yeah, that's good, right? And you can see here that we're currently outside of Deep Space Nine, which is currently near Bajor for some reason. You can turn NPCs off. I'm going to turn NPCs off just because I find them to be a little distracting. So
you know, I very much enjoyed this very familiar ambient noise.
Yeah, it is good, right? Now, of course, because it's boss mode, you can do red alert. So now the entire ship wide is in red alert, which is just...
Now that you've destaffed the ship.
Which is just great. Yeah. Could you imagine how much I could have used the shit out of this for Stowe?
Yeah.
Normal alert. That's neat. But you know what's even more badass for us Trek fans? Check this out. This is a little ridiculous. You can choose different seasons of bridge configuration you want, season 1 or season 2 to 7, or perhaps you want to set it to your favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation ever, yesterday's Enterprise, and now you have one of the coolest bridge versions of the Galaxy-class starship. Look at this thing. Complete with staircase and special lighting, extra consoles. They also have the Generations bridge and the All Good Things bridge. Here, I'll show you the Generations ones because it's sort of similar to the yesterday's Enterprise, just with a more current look. So that's pretty cool. But that's not even the best part. The best part is actually not on the bridge. The best part, this UI here is changed in the new version, but I actually kind of like this old version. So let's go to let's pick a place here. Let's go to oh, the holodecks, interesting. Let's go to 10 forward. Let's go check out 10 forward. So the turbo lift takes you while the turbo lift takes you. The game loads the next textures in the background. So the turbo lift trip time is based on the load time of your computer, which is kind of a nice touch. This is 100% accurate with the actual blueprints of the Galaxy Class Enterprise. So those of you that watched the show for a while, you instantly recognize these doors, of course. These are also famous doors from Star Trek VI. And now we are in Guinan's bar, which is at the front of the ship. Pretty cool. It's got these little pyramid games, which TNG was famous for. And there we go. So there you can see all of the different decks on that one. That's how big it is. Look at that. That's how big that one deck is right there. It's pretty big.
Wow.
Killed myself for that, but there you go.
So here's my question, Chris. When are they adding non-Enterprise ships?
I don't know. I mean, theoretically, it's possible because this is just using the Unreal 4 engine. The new version's even better. And
personally, I want to be on the Defiant.
Yeah. And of course, if you play this on Windows, it's full VR, which for me kind of makes me want to go get VR set up. Almost makes me want to get VR set up more than I want to edit my vlog. So check this room out. This is a room you've only seen a couple of times in the show and only in pieces. I wonder if anybody would actually recognize this. So if you look here, this probably to some of you looks kind of like a data center. And that's exactly what it is. You go in through these big doors, then you go down this special hallway here, and these are different sections of the Enterprise's data center, or its computer core. And you can go in here and get direct access to the Enterprise computer core. An area that's only seen a few times, and not even its entirety. You see different pieces of it, so it's really cool to be able to walk around inside the computer core of the Enterprise D. Look at this thing. How great is this? And because it's the Unreal 4 engine, essentially, the more graphics power you have to throw at this, the more real it looks. So this is on a 960 right here, a GTX 960. And I don't know which door actually works to get the out of here. And if you had, like, say, Rikai's big boy over there, this would be even more impressive. Probably this one door that looks different than all the other doors.
the only non-red door.
Mm-hmm. So there's the other side. And then you go back into the turbo lift. You could also walk around to the other parts of the ship here, obviously. Let's go check out, here we have Data's quarters, Worf's quarters. Let's go look at Data's quarters and stuff. That could be pretty cool. This whole UI has changed. Maybe for the better, I'm not sure. So now we go into here. Come on, man. I thought I turned off... Oh, I hit restart. That's right, I forgot about that. Okay, sorry. Now we go, what do we have here? Oh, yeah, escape pod. So this is a part of the ship you don't actually ever get to see, although it is in schematics. You've seen escape pods to a degree, and those are the orange hatches on the outside of the Enterprise D. But this is what the actual escape pod looks like, which is pretty cool. And of course, it says escape pod on the door label there. So that's neat. You can see how I get some primitive reflections there in the walls. If I had a much nicer video card, that would look even better. But it does look pretty great. I got to give them credit for that. It does look really nice. ODN access. Of course, ODN stands for Optical Data Network, so that would be part of the computer's data network right there that comes up from the data center, which is also correct, also accurate. Some of these pads you can actually punch stuff into. I don't think any of these are actually active, but some of these you can actually punch pads in, and then the doors do open. So I don't really know how to tell which doors are functional and which ones aren't. There's probably going to be a map system that's added to it at some point, but part of the fun right now is just to walk the F around and get lost. So, Science Lab. Oh, that'd be cool if that one gets added.
It'd be interesting if they had, like, Easter eggs where if you saw certain things from the show and you punch them in, you could access areas that normally...
Well, there are some Easter eggs. It's funny that you say that. So, like, there's some on this screen right here. There's some so they've stuck some good Easter eggs in here, but they're all like Trek lore mentions and stuff.
Well, I was thinking more like a room you wouldn't be able to access unless you saw the number punched in during the show.
Yeah, that would be good. Once something like this happens. So I was actually hoping the project was open source, but it is not, unfortunately. Ah, Worf's quarters. You can immediately tell these are Worf's quarters. Look at that. This looks like a wow. I mean, the lighting right there with the red right there in the corner is so spot on.
Yeah.
There's this crazy ass Klingon chair. That's where he tried to hump Deanna. That's his current. That's his thing that you won. So this is later TNG. You can tell just by Worf's shit that he has in there. Science lab. So these science labs don't open, which is really a shame because oh yeah. I guess I already went down this way, didn't I? Obviously, half the fun is getting lost, to tell you the truth. So yeah. And guess what? Works on Linux. So that's sort of the best thing. This is pretty. Let's go see if I can find the Arboretum real quick. Something you see a few times in the show. Oh yeah, I always forget that WASDA doesn't work on this version. The next version, WASDA works. Is this the room? It is not. It's probably over here. Nope. ODN access. Arboretum. Here we go. Grass. A little windy grass here. Look at all the shit you get with the Unreal Engine, dude. It really is incredible, isn't it? And you know what's amazing is this is more believable than Stowe.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks so. Well, I bet you if I had a better video card. I wonder if I.
Just max it out, Chris.
I'm gonna hit epic.
System failure. You must say goodbye now.
I don't think that worked. Boy, look at that light, though. Look at that light shining on the grass right there. Holy shit, this is gorgeous. It's killing my frame rate having this high setting, but
Yeah.
look at that ambiance. I would have absolutely used that as a background in Stowe, or Stoked.
Yeah, it's nice and high quality.
Oh, I'd love to see the astrophysics lab.
Then again, on the other hand, I feel like they probably wouldn't have a good time if they use something like the Unreal Engine for Stowe, because I don't think it's really too designed for.
No, for an MMO. No,
Yeah.
you have to have your own engine
Although
for an MMO.
there are some Unreal Engine based MMOs.
Shut the hell
Yeah.
up. No, is that even? You'd have to build your own like networking.
Yep.
Oh. Here we go. Here is main engineering. Damn. See the red lens flare there?
That's pretty intense. Oh, that sound.
Yeah, and it changes from ear to ear depending on my position.
Yeah. Positional audio is probably one of the most immersive changes to gaming.
Can you believe this? I mean, can you really believe the quality of this? I mean, look at this thing. And this is on a GTX 960 now, which isn't that expensive anymore. What's around this corner? You've always wanted to know, haven't you? Oh, we can't go back there. Stinkers.
That's weird. The audio is reversed for me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Are your headphones on the wrong ears?
Nope. I just checked.
Huh. Wonder if it's the game.
Maybe.
So anyways, I should probably stop now, but
Now let's just this is today's lap.
isn't this great? Isn't this the greatest thing ever, though? I mean, it really is pretty great. Yeah, the warp core should be blue. I don't know why it's not blue. I would imagine it's, given the level of detail they've put into this thing, I would imagine that's something they know. They just can't do it.
Maybe the warp core changed colors because you're in red alert mode.
Let's go with that. We'll say that's it. I actually like this screen. I think that's probably something they would have done.
Or maybe the core is going critical, Chris.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's what it does look like. So this should be the... God, I love that they even have it on the right side. I've never been in this room, but if you're going by the show, this is the side the transporter room's supposed to be on. And it is... Oh, I love it.
It is kind of amazing to see like how small the transporter room really is.
Yeah.
though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, actually, I bet you this isn't truly to size. I bet you it's even smaller. Like I know that the host basically had to, or the stars had to walk shoulder to shoulder because that does actually look pretty narrow. Actually,
Yeah.
that does look legitimately narrow.
For some reason, it felt like on the show though, like things were a lot less constricting.
Yeah, well, they'd shoot it, But if you watch the way they're walking, you could tell they had to
Yeah, yeah.
stagger there. So is this another transporter room? Yep, they got a second transporter room. Okay. Honestly, just walking around the hallways is pretty satisfying for me. Really, I've always wanted to be able to do this.
See, but Chris, the thing is, to get this in VR to be really good, you're gonna need to also buy like one of those
Crazy.
those crazy walking things.
Yeah, you seen those? They're getting more those 360-degree treadmills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is something, isn't it? Well, I think we should probably start. I was kind of
Okay.
hoping we'd have a few more folks in the mumble room, especially since we're down west today. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
It's okay. We got Rotten. He talks for like 4 people.
Go ahead, Rotten. You can do that. Quit. How do I quit game? I will be back, my love. I will be back. Wonder if it's going to crash on me now. Remember how it crashed on me last time? I'm going to set the settings down a little low because I'm going to talk about it a little bit in the game. Or in the show.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
That's when you set medium settings. Okay, what's low? I got to know now.
That is not a weakness. That is life.
That's good.
So is there a reason behind the name Stage 9?
Here.
I don't know.
This far, no farther.
We should just play that as our background the whole time.
They're asking for the name of what you're playing.
Stage 9, we're going to talk about in the show, too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm good. I got to tell you, I'm a little apprehensive to start, but we're going to start anyways because the show must go on.
YOLO, Chris.
Yeah. You only podcast once. Yopo. That's what everybody always says, right? Everybody always says Yopo. Don't people say that? Okay.
I don't think that's even true though. Like you podcast a lot, Chris.
Shit. This is falling apart quick.
What about like Yopid? You only podcast daily.
Ooh, that's pretty awful. That is pretty awful. All right, I'm bringing up the soundboard over here, which you would think
I've
I
got
would
it,
have done
Chris.
that by now, but
YOLO. You're only live once.
that's in the working range, I think. I don't know. It just makes me think about things that I crave.
I crave ZFS.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I thought you craved electrolytes.
Food.
Oh, no, wait, that's what plants crave.
Yeah. Well, I do too. They do make things go. Okay. Why can I not find LUP? What's going? Oh, because we don't have it labeled as LUP. We have it labeled as unplugged. Oh, this was a huge waste of my time. These are all improperly named. This was a huge mistakes have occurred. Huge mistakes have occurred. Huge mistakes have occurred. Oh man. So when Noah set up the new soundboard machine, he duplicated my soundboard and renamed the clips. And some of these are there we go. This is much better. I got I put numbers on my clips so I know which order they go in
Oh.
to make it easy on myself. You know what I mean? All right, chat room. Well, look, shit. This is what we got today. So we're just going to go with it, and we're just going to try to make the best of it. So stop giving me lip, and let's just try to get along. And I won't tell you how to listen to podcasts. And wait, what? Where is this going? I'm just going to get a little more water, and then I'll be ready, I think. You know what I just realized? There we go.
Oh.
I just realized I have totally wrong levels on Mumble. Now we can hear you, Michael.
Can you though?
Yeah. No,
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. I had the levels all screwed up on Mumble Room.
Yeah, we could tell.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was is I got so distracted by Rikai's beard. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get water.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Did you put that thing that I linked in the show?
What thing?
The Steam thing?
No, I didn't. I forgot all about it.
Oh, well.
Mention it right now. It's one of my pre-shows.
Oh, okay.
Looks pretty awesome too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And it's available.
Did you see the video where they were explaining like the
What?
the underappreciated features of the game?
Oh, no.
That's awesome.
I've
You
seen
should
it
check
before, I think, but
Oh, okay.
not for a very long time.
They did a montage of all these like things that people don't care about but should.
The initial trailer is pretty good too.
I mean, the trailer looks good. It's just like these are like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can clean the blade. It's like, oh, thanks.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you want to?
Well, of course. It look all disgusting after a while.
Some people like that though.
I mean, yeah.
Blood
It's
of your
nice
enemies
to
and all
have the
that.
option.
I feel like that'd be a very Klingon thing. Or no, they probably have pretty high respect for the blade, huh?
And they also talk about like there was one part where it was like cross promotion of other games, of our games. Like, yep, nice. I like it.
It reminds me a lot of the Devolver Digital E3 event. That was pretty intense.
I hadn't seen that.
You should look it up after the show.
We'll do. Said Devolve.
Devolver Digital.
Ah. So I've been playing with that Linux browser thing in OBS. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It works so well, and I talked to the developer of it. There's a few issues, but overall, I mean, he's fixed most of them too.
Honestly, that probably might fix that chat room issue. I might
Mm-hmm.
have
That's what I was
to,
just thinking. That's exactly in my line of thinking.
Because then it would technically also be the active window.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right, we should play with that.
Yeah.
The end of summer, it must be a good time for Linux users. Look at this. Look at this game that just came out. This is kind of pushing my buttons. It's got a 70s, early 80s vibe,
Mhm.
and it's if you took like a horror. I'm gonna start over because that's just a horrible. That's not a good way to start a show. Lakeview Cabin. What is it? It's a. That's horrible too. That's not an ad. So hey, guess what? Guess what? This game isn't available for Linux, so I'm not even going to mention this game. So, Aces there, Chris. I linked it, and then I look at it. Not available for Linux. Layers of Fear. What's this about? What's this about? What's this, Rick?
Amazing. How about that smile? All right. The undercoat should be dry by now. This house is absolutely amazing. How about that smile?
All right, maybe I'll start with this. So, we're going to start with that. That'll be this should be the pre-show here, okay? All right, you good? All right, here we go.
This house is absolutely amazing. How about that smile?
I guess screw the rest of August. It's almost time for Halloween. So Humble Bundle has got some pretty good priced Linux games out.
Yeah, I'm surprised this isn't coming out in October.
I know. Well, and weren't you just telling me about a sale for a Steam game on Linux? It's like hell of a
No,
sale. It's like
actually,
free, right?
Yeah, it's free until tomorrow. You can get what was it called? Shadow Warrior.
Shadow Warrior. Yeah, so you have the Humble Spooky Bundle, which is available for 13 days, and then Steam's got the Shadow Warrior game for free right now for Linux users.
Actually, I think the best game on the Humble Bundle is actually Alien Isolation.
Alien Isolation, is that available for Linux? That would be
Yes,
awesome.
it is.
Yes, it is.
Alien Isolation, huh? That sounds cool. Discover the true meaning of fear in Alien Isolation.
It's based on the Aliens series.
Yeah, and the graphics looks interesting.
So
So
supposedly, I saw a review. They were saying that the story mode of it is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
really, oh guys,
It's pretty intense too.
Might be worth the bundle right here. Here, I'm gonna watch a little bit of the trailer. This might be. Oh, it's a Sega game.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I already love it. The graphics look great. Good sci-fi
I'm
graphics.
Samuels.
Yeah, it's a
I
AAA
work for the
title.
company.
Oh, this looks super creepy.
It's about your mother.
Oh, I'm getting this.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna be playing that on Halloween.
That's awesome. All right, gentlemen, let's do this frickin' ass. God, that smell of that Red Bull is making me want a Red Bull so bad. You bastard. You bastard.
Are you not in the The space for it.
No, I wasn't consuming today. I wasn't consuming Red Bull or anything but water. But damn, that thing smells good. It's so fruity.
Yeah, until you put it in your mouth, and then it's chemicals.
It's all sticky.
And
All
then
right.
it's chemical.
All right, guys. But chemicals that make me go. Please bang suggest, chat room, and it starts in 3, 2. This is Linux Unplugged, episode 211 for August 22nd, 2017. Ooh, welcome to Linux Unplugged, your weekly Linux talk show that really wished more cars were running Linux these days. Yes, I mean it. My name is Chris. That's your cue there.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, hello, Beard. Wes is out today, so normally where Wes would jump in, we're going to have the Beard jump in. Now, that worked out. I actually thought you'd be filling in for me sooner than you'd be filling in for Wes.
Well, I can just fill in for everyone and do the show alone.
You probably could. That's some sort of Beard superpower. Would you cut yourself to reply to the answers, or would you just work 2 mics? Like, have you thought that through?
I mean, I figured I'd just put the mics together and
Yeah.
have this
Yeah.
nice stereo warbly sound.
Well, while I'm still here, I'm going to try to put together a great show for everybody today. I'm going to give you just a quick update on the solar eclipse trip I went on, but then there is a rumor that some Solus-powered, maybe actually.
I already don't believe it.
Okay, all right.
Rumors.
What about rumors about Ubuntu Budgie Edition shipping on hardware? What about no?
Well, that's
Yeah.
that sounds crazy.
Yeah. Crash Plan users got screwed this week. We'll cover what Linux users can do to move off of there. There is an app based around Electron that, well, it may be a line too far, even for me. Chrome OS is coming for Linux in the enterprise. There's a great way to generate your bash files. Ubuntu is showing every other distribution how it should be done. We've got some interesting conundrums from Firefox and Plex, and then we'll wrap it all up with something that's so amazing. It's probably going to change your life, and it's based on Unreal Engine 4. And it's essentially the Oasis. If you ever read Ready Player One, prepare to have your entire life sucked away. You're welcome. We'll tell you more about that. Yes, of course, it runs on Linux. Of course it does. We'll tell you more about that, though, as this here show goes on. But Beardsley,
What's up?
we must go no further. We must welcome in our virtual lug. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Greetings.
Hello.
Good
Good
day.
day.
Hello.
Pip pip.
It is nice to see some of you in there. We have a lower showing today, and I would imagine it's probably because Wes isn't here.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, screw it, I'm not showing up.
Well, usually
They
people
knew.
people show up for the beers West brings.
Yeah, well, and they knew he wasn't coming somehow, even maybe before we even knew.
Yeah. Well, he probably meshes them first.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just got back hours ago, actually, from going down and seeing the Tote Solar Eclipse 2017 of the Heart in Oregon, and it was pretty great. Bumped into a listener down there who is a Linux user. Didn't bump into another listener I expected to, but I bumped into somebody that I didn't expect to, and that was great. We chat a little bit about all the crazy things going on in Linux right before the solar eclipse hit, which is pretty neat. And drove down there in one long, just crazy 7-hour-ish. There was a lot of traffic getting down there. And got down there, slept in the car, woke up, and then we had to take care of a few. There were some challenges that we faced. Took care of all that, bumped into the listener, had a good chat, saw the eclipse, then hightailed it back up here so that way we could do Linux Unplugged this week. So there you go. I'll do the whole story on my vlog eventually.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think
Yeah.
you can get the full
Yeah.
story.
I got to edit it all together. There was some pretty good stuff going on, and of course, I managed to actually end up with a few of my own really amateur shots of the eclipse. So that's pretty cool. And I had the drone up in the sky during the eclipse.
And your eyes still work.
As far as I know, although sometimes I think it takes a while for it to set in, so you never know. But having the drone up in the sky wasn't I wasn't really watching it because I was watching the eclipse, but it really shows you how dark it got.
Oh, that's a
down there.
crazy progression.
Yeah. We're showing it in the video version, a progressive shot that was taken down from Oregon. There is, it's pretty neat. It was a pretty cool event. It's so impressive in person to see something like that. Yeah, I'm really glad I made it, and I only got to say hi to a couple of people, but I'm glad that we were able to say hi. So I think our next meetup will be here at the studio again. I think maybe we'll do like an end of summer barbecue soon. We're going to do another one of those. I was thinking too about maybe doing a raffle. I got to look into the details around that, but maybe taking some Jupiter Broadcasting gear and raffling it off during the next barbecue. So I got a few ideas. So we'll have another meetup soon, and then eventually, so that way I can start prepping for the 2024 eclipse. I'll make trips over to the East Coast, and if I hold up to my promise, I'll eventually make it across the pond too.
I have one question for you, Chris.
Hmm.
Were the crowds as crazy as you expected?
Yes and no. So, getting down out of Washington was a nightmare, and it was super packed, and I-5 was all screwed up. Once we jumped down Highway 101, which runs along the Pacific coast, the Pacific Ocean coast, really it was no big deal. And then we hightailed it out of there. But for the most part, actually, just everybody was cool.
Yeah.
Everybody was super. Like there was a lot of people, and there was zero issue.
It's all them hippies going to check out the eclipse.
People came from all over. Behind us were people from Canada, and then in front of us, parked along the side of the road because where we ended up, were people from Utah. So people just came from all over to see it. It's pretty neat. People come from all over to run Ubuntu Budgie too. I've been hearing more and more about Ubuntu Budgie Edition. So it's Ubuntu, but with the Budgie desktop from Solus, and rumors are percolating that there could be hardware shipping very soon with Ubuntu Budgie Edition pre-installed on it. It's a rumor that's circulating around today. This is a post over at OMG Ubuntu. And it's based on hints that were dropped by Ubuntu Budgie's social media page, which I noticed that none of them are in the room for today. Some of them are often in the room, but nobody's there today from here. So if you take the image that they tweeted out, right. They did 2 context-free images on their Twitter feed. They just posted like an iMac-looking rig and a ultra-thin laptop-looking rig with the lid closed. So you take those images and you do a reverse image search, and you know what you end up with? Clevo! Yeah, you end up with Clevo, which is with the same hardware ODM that Entraware and System 76 use, and Nimbusoft and others use. And you know that the thing I say with the Clevo is it's like getting a nice mid-sized sedan or something. It's like when you get a mid-level car, it's very reliable, like a Camry or like an Accord, which I've owned. Those are great cars. But they're not like they're definitely not Teslas, and they're definitely not BMW i Series. You know, they're not crazy performance, right? And they're not like super broken down cars either. Sometimes, depending on how the ODM chooses to tweak it, though, they can really put together something that's very, very compelling. And so, if they could get the balance right, you might have something here. Now, there's 2 laptops it looks like from Clevo that are 2 different rigs because one was an iMac. One's the Bologna laptop, and the other is the Neptune all-in-one. And Nimbusoft, which is a company out of the UK that resells Clevos, already actually sells both of these devices with Ubuntu Mate, Kubuntu on it. So you could see them pretty easily adding Ubuntu Budgie for Ubuntu Budgie users who want to grab that, which could be great for people that are looking for something that's still GTK heavy as Canonical moves away from Unity, but they still want something with an Ubuntu base. Could be good timing. I haven't heard anything from Nimbusoft in the past. I've never reviewed any of their equipment, and I'm not very familiar with the company. I've never heard anybody in the audience has ever bought from them. But they apparently are also working on their own distribution called Eloquent OS, because apparently every hardware OEM, except for the ones like Dell and HP and
Except
IBM,
for the ones that are shipping lots of product.
Yeah, except for the one. Yeah, there's an OEM program, and then there's roll your own distribution, apparently. And to hell with even bothering being a flavor anymore. Screw end users. Speaking of screwing end users, CrashPlan is doing just that and shutting down its consumer backup service. And I'm bringing this up on this show because CrashPlan is something I've mentioned as a very cost-effective, unlimited or close to it backup solution for Linux users. And one of the things I loved about CrashPlan is A, they actually had a client that worked on Linux, and B, they had command line integration, and C, you could ship them a disk. You could just ship them a 4 terabyte spinning Rust to seed your backup and then just back up the updates and the differentials, which was huge for me back in the day. But unfortunately, of course, anything too good eventually has to go away.
Yep.
Have you experimented much with online backup? You just use like Google Drive or what do you? Because I know you recently suffered some pretty serious data loss. Like, have you thought a lot about this?
Yeah, I've mostly been leaning towards actually trying to use Tarsnap.
Oh yeah. That's definitely one of my recommendations.
Because they recently just came out with version 1.0 of the Tarsnap GUI, apparently.
Oh, really?
Which makes it a lot easier, I imagine.
Anybody in the Mumble room using CrashPlan now or using a competitor to it that they would give a recommendation to? Because I know
I was using CrashPlan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I actually had like people who were friends, and I had a couple clients that were using CrashPlan, so that's going to suck.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that situation. Some of my former clients are using CrashPlan, and definitely like my mom's on CrashPlan. Like I got a few family members on it too because it was so economical, which is probably why it's going away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was using it because I was also some setups I was using it because it was free.
Yeah, most
Because you can do it where you can free do an FTP over SFTP over to multiple networks.
I
and
love
your
that feature.
You have your own computers, and it was fantastic. But then, like, I would still pay for one of the premiums just because
Yeah.
it was so useful. But I wasn't gonna like deploy it everywhere. But now, drawing board.
Man.
Yeah, most of the alternatives are really expensive too.
Yeah, so I've been looking. Backblaze is very competitive, but they don't and have no interest in making a Linux client, which really pisses me off because it's not even a matter of well, we can't be bothered to even write a command line interface, which would obviously be simple. Which there is a Python way to do this, but anyways, let me get back to the main point. They've been asked about it numerous times, and they're very upfront about it. You can ask them. We asked them today on Twitter. And they'll just say, yeah, it's not really in our business priorities right now. Nothing against Linux, just not really our business priority. But they do have this B2 cloud storage system, and I'm not personally a customer of this, although Angela does use them now after CrashPlan. But B2 is like a cloud storage service, and there's going to be a cost associated with that, so keep this in mind. But there's a tool you can use on Linux that works with B2 storage. It works with Amazon Drive, obviously S3, Dropbox, Google Cloud Storage, local disk, Microsoft OneDrive. It also will just do SSH and SFTP. It'll do a Yandex disk, which is kind of neat. It's called rclone. And rclone is sort of like rsync, but it allows you to sync to these cloud storage services that I just mentioned, including Backblaze's B2. This might be something you could look into. rclone might be a good way to move the data around to a new service as well. So rclone.org is where you find that. We've talked about it in the past, rsync for cloud storage. And if you want to know specifically about the Backblaze integration, it's rclone.org/B2.
rclone also apparently has support for Amazon Cloud Drive.
Or Google Drive, you could do that as well if you're okay with that, or you want to encrypt your data, or Dropbox if you're already paying that monster. None of these
Does it
really
have full
excite
image
me.
cloning, or is it just like incremental cloning?
It's more like I think it's more file system based, so I don't think it's like doing like block images or anything like that. It has because it's more like rsync than it is like a block backup or something. And it does support like some of the same syntax as rsync too, like the commands to like preserve timestamps and like those kinds of things. Some of those same flags, like the archive flag and stuff, are the same. The other thing is that I find kind of useful about it is it does support syncing one data set to multiple cloud storages, which is kind of a neat feature if you think about it. So you could spread out your risk. Say you have a locally encrypted set of data or something to that degree, and then you could blast a copy of it on Dropbox, Amazon S3, and Google Cloud. Now, would I really want to do that? Generally, no. However, there's something that I feel like we as a society at whole have not really wrapped our brains around, and that is the ephemeral nature of digital media, specifically our pictures. And one of the things that stands out for me as a very strong memory from childhood is going through family photo albums and seeing pictures of Grandma and Grandpa getting married and how young they looked, and seeing pictures of my mom and dad as kids and how they kind of looked like me, and my cousins and my uncles and my aunts. Like these are pretty clear memories I have of going through these old photo albums, and those do not exist anymore for most people that are shooting digitally. Some people print it out, but for most of us they don't. And then you move between computers and you move between phones, and all of a sudden you don't have the video of the marriage or whatever it might be, the kid's birthday that was super important. And it's just gone. It's just gone forever, and there's nothing for your kids to flip through down the road or your grandparents to flip through down the road because there's no physical object to represent it. And there's no solution to this problem. There's nothing that you can update and upload all day long to Dropbox and Google Drive and S3, and there's no way your kids are going to download that or your ancestors are going to download that and look at it later on. But at least it is preserving it in a way that you could manage it and you can get access to it at some point. And so spreading that out, and the fact that this supports FTP, SFTP, the local file system, so you could do an NFS mount if you wanted to, or it supports multiple cloud storages, and it'll do hashes to make sure everything goes up there. Everything's got good integrity. It does partial syncs if your upload gets canceled. So if you got to move off of CrashPlan, rClone could be a solution for you. There's also kind of nice for restorations, especially for basic end users, is there's an optional fuse mount called rClone Mount. And as you'd expect, that makes it kind of easy for regular people to browse through their backup. And you could just have this as an icon on the side of their file manager that they click on, kicks off Fuse in the background. It does a mount. And of course, you just have to have rClone installed to do that. And you could also even use WinFCP, and there is actually a proxy module available for Windows, which uses a combination of rClone and CG Go Fuse. I can't remember what it's called because I have never needed to use it. But there's actually even a way to mount rClone backups on Windows desktops, which could be great for clients or people that you're setting up in an office that need access to that, but you're backing it from a Linux file server. That's a situation I've been in where I've used a backup system on Linux for Linux file servers, and then guess who needs to restore the data? Some user on Windows, and that has a solution for that. So links to all of that crap in the show notes.
So I was doing a bit of research while you were talking.
Yeah.
Apparently, Duplicity and by extension Deja Dupe, since it's a front end to it, can directly sync or directly back up to Amazon Cloud Drive.
I am so glad you brought up Duplicity because that's a great one.
On top of that, there's a asynchronous upload flag that will encrypt as it uploads. So you can encrypt your backups and not have to worry about like Amazon looking into your backups.
There's also sort of name collision, but there's also Duplicati, which is backup software for Mac, Windows, and Linux, they say, that does local encryption and then backs up to probably using rClone on the back end, all the same cloud services that rClone supports. But this gives you a big old stinking web GUI for it, which makes it nice and easy for people to manage. So it might be something worth looking at, too. That's Duplicati and Duplicity. Yep. Duplicity is like a GTK-based app that you run on Linux desktop.
Well, no, Duplicity is the command line app. Deja Dupe is the GTK app.
Oh, right. Thank you. So Deja Dupe is the GTK front end. Duplicati is a web-based project around rClone. That's a lot of things we just dropped at you. I know that's all confusing because all the names sort of collide. So here's what I'm doing right now is I'm putting links to all of this stuff in the show notes, jupiterbroadcasting.com. Go to Linux Unplugged 211s, and you'll see the big section on rClone there that lists all of the cloud services that it features. Yeah, Deja Dupe has been an app pick before, too.
If you want good advice for data stuff in general, the Data Hoarder subreddit is a great place to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't been there in forever. And also, anybody in the mumble room, if you have any other backup apps or tips.
Plus, it has some really nice storage porn.
Yeah, it is a great subreddit to hang out in, and if you're ever in the mood to research and set up a new NAS.
Yeah, some of the most chill, informative guys on Reddit.
All right, I think I got links to everything now. Duplicity, Deja Dupe. Go ahead.
Deja Dupe is also great because it's really easy to use.
Yeah, and it's even for basic end users that could pick it up. All right, so I think
and
that's
it has a fun name.
Gotta look at that, all of that. Look at that. Live show note editing right here on the show. Proud of us. So those of you that are getting screwed up by CrashPlan, hopefully some of these will help out. I feel really bad about that because I've recommended CrashPlan in the past.
I wonder if Deja Dupe can upload to Tarsnap. That'd be interesting.
I got to play around. If Tarsnap has a GUI, I got to play around with that too. Because that's a slam dunk.
It apparently just hit 1.0 this past week.
That's worth it. That is a slam dunk, I think. Also, feel free to tweet us or leave a comment wherever you're watching this to let us know how you're doing your offsite backups on Linux. I am more particularly interested in offsite backups. Local backups good too, but offsite's really sort of the sweet spot. And however you do it, let us know. Leave a comment where you watch this, or go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact, or tweet me at ChrisLAS. Also got the subreddit, linuxunplugged.reddit.com. Let's talk about mobile. This is my mobile service provider. It's also Rekai's mobile service provider, and it's Ting. Linux.ting.com. It's just a better way to do mobile. There's no contracts, no nationwide coverage. You just pay for what you use. This is so nice, especially when new phones are getting released. You don't have to sit here and try to do the crazy complicated, am I eligible for an upgrade? Do I have to go into a quote-unquote agreement if I do that? It's just so straightforward, especially with some of the leasing programs that like the iPhone has, or if you want to go grab like a used phone off of Gazelle when the new phones come out for a crazy great price, or eBay, this is the perfect time to bring it over to Ting, because you can just add a SIM. You just go get the SIM card from their store, and if you go to linux.ting.com, they'll give you $25 to play with, either off a device or in service credits. And if you get that SIM card for $9, they'll probably just give you, I think they just attribute it all in service credits. That first month you bring that phone over will probably be paid for. It's nice.
You want to know a secret, Chris? Sometimes they even cut the price of those Sims.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have
By
them
like 50%.
sometimes they have them on sale on Amazon too.
Yeah. I will say the only time I've ever had to contact Ting was to get my unlocked phone on Ting, and it only took like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I feel like on other carriers it doesn't take nearly as.
You know what will
takes
really sell you
way
on
more.
Ting? If you can do the whole bring your device process
Yeah.
online through their website, and it's done in minutes, and you never even have to talk to. It's
Yeah.
so well done. You start using different aspects of Ting, and it's how you just immediately realize it's how every carrier should do it. It's how they would have to do it in the U.S. today to be competitive if the industry was starting
Yeah,
over.
the only reason I even needed to call them is because the other carrier screwed it up.
Yeah, you can also get some great like Rika was just mentioning, when they bring things up on sale, you can get that kind of information on their Twitter account. They also have Ting Tips. Look at this. Look at that. They got Ting Tips on there. I didn't know they had Ting Tips. That was pretty hip Ting music too. Oh, yeah, I like that. So they got tips and stuff on their Twitter page at TingFTW on Twitter, where you can find out about giveaways, sales, like on the SIM cards and whatnot. It's no contract, no early termination fees. You only pay for what you use. They don't play that crazy OEM game where they want to flash a certain experience on your phone, so they hold back updates. It's if you get a device that gets updates from Google or gets updates from Motorola, they'll just they don't get in the way. They just ship it.
It still blows my mind to have an internet savvy phone company.
Yeah, it is really nice. It's finally the way it should be. Linux.ting.com, and thanks to everybody who supports the show by visiting that site and checking out Ting and checking out their blog and signing up. Linux.ting.com. Now, here's something you never thought Electron would be used for. And this is a line that's just even too far for me. I can't even with this, guys. A file manager built using Electron.
I love it.
Check it out. It's Jump FM, Jump File Manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it's described as a dual-pane file manager, cross-platform Qt based, and it has a terminal tool built in that lets you do certain things. In fact, it takes its key influences from the ls command, it says. It's a keyboard-driven file manager. And as you might expect, I have it loaded right here. And I've been trying it out, and I'll tell you one thing, its main gimmick is pretty cool. If you type the J key, it brings up the Jump menu. Jump FM is the name. And it shows you all your favorite directories, and you can just bam right through them super quick. Bam.
It also, I think, has a flat file mode where it will show you all the files in the directory you're in, as well as all
Really?
the subdirectories.
Okay, let's see here. So it's got a whole series of plugins too. The configuration's done through a series of text files and whatnot, though. That's kind of a turnoff.
Well, it's early.
Yeah, it is early. It is early. So I thought so I've been running this and Nautilus all day. Been browsing files in both of them. So I thought we'd just check in and do a little memory usage. So how much does an Electron file manager take? Now, I'm not normally this guy. I just had a whole soapbox on last week's Coda Radio about how I think Linux users are too hard on Electron apps. And but I got to do this. We have to go here. So sorting by memory usage. The only thing on my system that's taking more memory is definitely Chrome. Chrome's taking a lot more memory. Jeez, look at Chrome. That is really something.
Well, it's isolating every process.
So Jump FM, if you look at just if you look at just the Jump FM main process, and it has a couple of processes, but if you look at just the main process right now, this is really remarkable. Actually, this is not the results I had earlier. Jump FM is currently consuming 27.9 megabytes of RAM, and Nautilus is currently consuming 23.4. So Nautilus is only a few megabytes lower.
Yeah,
it's 23 megabytes for Nautilus, 27 megabytes.
So if
For
you
Jump
go
FM.
back into Jump FM, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
and you pick a folder and you hit R, it'll do the flat mode.
Oh, okay. One more thing on the memory usage, though. So Jump FM's main thread, 27.9 meg, so essentially 28 megabytes. But then there's also an app image thread that gets launched when I mount it via app image.
Mhm.
That takes up 5 megabytes of RAM. There's also a dedicated thread for the GPU with no sandbox mode turned on, dual GPU turned off, and driver bug workarounds enabled. And certain GL extensions disabled, that thread is taking an astonishing 62 megabytes of RAM, taking more RAM than the main file manager thread. And then there is a tertiary thread besides the main thread that is taking 5.8 megabytes of RAM. That is just apparently some sort of like no sandbox thing. Anyways, so that is quite a bit of memory usage. But if I go into flat mode here, that is kind of great, actually.
Yeah, it shows you all the files in the directory you're in and all the subdirectories.
Wow, that's a lot of files. It's a lot of crash files.
And it's really quick too.
It is quick. I'll give it that. It is quick. Once it's loaded, it like all Electron apps, it loads a little awkwardly for a moment, but then once it's loaded, it is very quick.
And then it's got other crazy stuff like filtering, where you can hit F and just type in part of a file name, and it will find the file for you.
All right, so let's do jump. See if it helps if I spell it right. Jump. I don't know.
You might be searching the directory you're in.
I feel like this is a line too far for me, dude. Where do we stop building Electron apps at?
And for coders, if you hit Control-G on a file, it'll instantly make a gist.
Huh. Okay. So here was my thought on this: is there is some value to just maybe Control-G?
Yeah.
That's pretty great, actually. It's creating a gist right now. That's pretty great. There is some. I guess if I am stuck on Mac, Windows, and Linux, yeah, there's my gist. Of course, I did it out of an image file, so of course it's ass, but it did it. It did it. If I'm stuck on Mac or Windows, but my main OS is Linux, maybe then I would want to have a file manager that's cross-platform like this. But come on, be real with me, dude. Would you ever use this?
Yeah, why not?
Well, Explorer sucks. Maybe that's why you.
Nautilus sucks too.
Yeah, but not as bad as. I mean, like I don't know. Like just look at them side by side. So here is Jump FM, and here let me bring up Nautilus. Nautilus looks so much better.
I disagree. I hate how Nautilus looks.
This looks like a Flash application on my desktop. It looks like it's weird. It doesn't follow my desktop convention at all.
Yeah, but that's just a problem with the implementation of the app. You can make Electron apps follow your desktop.
Man, I don't know. To me, it seems like Nautilus is way better looking.
It also doesn't help that you're running a Qt app in a GDK environment.
Yeah. Have you
well,
tried?
I mean, I just tried Jump inside of Plasma, and it's it
About
looks
the same?
like crap.
Yeah. So what are your impressions?
I mean, it looks interesting as far as like the speed of its like searching thing. The find tool is not that useful, it seems so far. The flat thing is cool, although it's not as effective as you would assume, because it flattens some of the stuff and shows you some files, but it also skips other files. Like if I just flatten this, it should be showing me like files that are in the main folder, but it's skipping that and showing other folders. So that's weird. But overall, I mean, it's interesting. Although 200 megs total on my system is not, it's not acceptable for a file manager.
I am so tired of the whole memory usage.
But
argument.
200 megs for a file manager, like.
We're in a world where 32 gigabyte PCs are common.
But
it's 32 gigabytes for a file manager that is not even that good. Like I just I'm looking at my folder.
Well, no,
right
I'm
now.
just at this point I'm just talking about the whole memory usage argument in general, not specifically for this app.
Okay. I agree with the argument in general. Like there are some Electron apps that manage it very well and even do hibernation in certain cases and stuff. So those are fine. It's just the ones that recognize that Electron needs to be managed. I'm okay with those. Things like this, where the features it's offering are not even implemented very well. Like if you go to the flat mode, it looks cool, but I have stuff in the home folder. I'm in the home folder just to see what happens if it finds every file. It finds like random files in some folders and it skips the rest.
I feel like if we crapped on every project that didn't work on one of its earlier releases, then we'd have a lot less projects.
I guess where I go with this, where I go with it is there a line? Is there a line where you say these things should be native applications on a platform? Like for a house, like you have to have a foundation for your house. You could build the house materials out of anything, but the house has to be a solid foundation.
Yeah, I mean, like. I don't think that native really matters anymore. Like, look at Discord. It's not native.
You got to have something to launch the web browser.
Well, yeah.
Something's got to...
I mean, native is not that necessary, sure. and Discord is a good example, but it is still important. And especially in a file manager, native is important, and just because it's going to be faster, because like this is fast, but it's also incredibly inaccurate. Like if you if you do the flat system, it shows you these files and it's cool, but it's skipping files that are in the current file folder I'm in and going to other folders. It's like it's not reliable in any way whatsoever.
For me, it's not fast enough, to be honest. I mean, it's fast once it's running, but it does that thing that some Electron apps do where the frame of the application comes up and then the inside of the application flashes white and then the UI elements render in. Sort of like how a web page loads, actually. And when I want to just open up my file manager super quick, like I've already had to do the mental gymnastics of, is this something I do on the terminal with LS, or is this something I bother firing at my file manager? So I've already made that decision tree, which already takes time. And then I go through that decision tree and I end up with this app that's taking me, I don't know, noticeably longer than my native app to load.
The thing is, you guys are making arguments for problems that can be solved by better code. Would you
Yeah, I suppose like they could do a TSR in the background and leave it always running to launch faster, I suppose.
Well, no, you can just optimize the code so it launches quicker.
I don't really know any Electron app that launches as quick as a native application. Once it's up and running, I agree. You can have it pretty competitive, but launch time seems
they don't take a while.
Seems particularly important for a file manager. Like your terminal too. Like that also seems like something you want to launch really fast. I'm playing around.
Discord takes forever and just has little splash messages like these weird, like the rabbits are loading or something.
Well, that's not a bad way to go. Like a splash message isn't a bad way to go. At least then you know it's working.
I think Discord takes long because it's loading all the messages from the server and stuff.
Yeah, and it's checking for updates and every time too. There's
I would say that this Jump FM is interesting, but it doesn't do what it claims to do. Like if it didn't claim these things and say these things were good, that's one thing. But it's claiming like the flat system doesn't work. The searching isn't useful. It's not finding any things I'm searching. I'm like searching for files that I know are in like one folder, so, like lower, and it's not finding that at all.
Have you
like,
turned on the syntax highlighting, quote unquote, where it like does different color coding for different file types?
No.
I think that's useful. That's actually kind of nice when you're working on especially when you're working on like a website, and they have a screenshot here, and you've got.
I need to skim to the greens.
Yeah, you got your index.html, which is always green. Your JSON files are always red. Your CSS is always gray.
That's interesting, but if it doesn't do the rest of the stuff, what's the point?
Yeah, like there's stuff in there I like. Actually, I think their jump menu is pretty great. I would like every freaking file manager to do this jump menu thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying the app is great as it is. I'm saying it has potential.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The jump menu is pretty cool.
Yeah, like
that reminds me of Sublime Text.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the Sublime or GNOME do essentially, or whatever. But the other thing is like being able to upload a gist and files that are displayed depending on their Git status. The jump menu and the Git integration is really shit that every important Linux file manager should be shipping already, if you think about it, because we keep talking about on this show and other shows, and obviously Dell and other companies, System 76 keep talking about focusing on users that are creating software. People like the Sputnik program, for example, is going really after the web developer sysadmin market that is using Linux on production and using Linux on the Sputnik laptops. And that focus, they have seen 100% year-over-year growth by focusing on that niche within a niche of Linux users. They realized they had to hyper-focus at a certain niche of Linux users, which is incredible if you think about it, because Linux is already such a niche. And these users, these are kinds of features that they want. And I feel like this is just a short rant, but I feel like our projects, like GNOME, are so focused on bringing in the new user that it takes a damn memory-eating monster to come along and actually ship something that's new and innovative. We haven't had anything interesting happen in our file managers in years. In fact, on the GNOME side, features have literally just gotten removed year after year. Some have finally been re-added recently. And this kind of stuff, meanwhile, has just been sitting out there. This GNOME file should have been shipping this a year ago. Dolphin should be doing this already. Like, this needs to already be happening. And this is kind of sad you have to go get it from an Electron app.
Dolphin does have, other than the syntax thing, Dolphin has everything else, like the Git integration and stuff.
Oh, I was specifically talking about Git and Jump integrate and the Jump thing. So if it's got that, then I take it back for Dolphin, because that's the thing I really think. The jump menu, does Dolphin do that?
I don't think so. No.
So that would
Does
be
have the
great.
Git
but the
thing.
Git stuff is good too. That's awesome. So I got to
But
play with that.
Dolphin just feels terrible to
Well, I
use.
mean, is it like the services KIO slave stuff, or is it like legit like? Because the thing about this is you can actually like sort the files in your file browser based on their Git status. That's a whole nother level.
I think it's Kia stuff.
Even having something's nice though. And then of course it's got plugins and filtering and stuff like that. So yeah,
And there are filterings. There's the filter in the search bar and stuff like that
Right, yeah.
does something, but it's not like automatically loading stuff like the jump thing is doing.
the jump thing I think is particularly great. I think the Git stuff's particularly great. The plugin stuff, I don't really know if I need that in my file manager. Filtering stuff, yeah, you can basically do that.
I don't know, Chris. You got plenty of plugins in gedit.
You know, if it let Google finally release a Google Drive client for Linux, maybe then it would be worth it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
There's
you
Google
need
Drive support for Dolphin.
it'd probably be pretty easy to implement in Jump FM.
Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, probably.
Nice web extensions.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no kidding. Anyways, it's an interesting thing to play around with if you want to play A, with an app image, because that's what it is, and B, with a file manager that's actually trying to do something different for the first time in a few years. So you could check that out.
I definitely like the thought of being able to just take all of my apps with me on whatever platform I'm on.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, it's one of the things that I've said for a long time is a great way to convert people to Linux.
Just
and
have a completely portable workflow.
put people on LibreOffice, Firefox, and now Jump FM, and they're ready to go. You put them on Windows and let them run that for 6 months, and move over to Linux, use the same apps.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. And it's legitimately the smoothest way to move people over to Linux. But they're not going to need to anymore. That's going to come to an end because Google is launching Chrome Enterprise, subscription service for Chrome OS, essentially signaling to the entire world that, okay, we're ready for Chrome OS to take over in the enterprise. They've experimented with this a little bit actually in the past with Chromebooks for Work was the program. But this is a totally different beast. First of all, it's $50 per device per year, which for a business is just an unbelievably low price. They could have charged legitimately $50 per month, and businesses would have paid this.
Chrome OS as a service.
Yeah, and with that, you get a number of nice capabilities. They have a little chart here. Holy crap! Can I zoom in on this? Because this is quite the chart. So additional things that you get above and beyond stock Chrome OS with Chrome Enterprise. And this isn't the browser. This is the OS. They just call it Chrome Enterprise. They dropped the OS for whatever reason. You get managed Google Play beta support for the apps that can be installed on Chrome OS. You can manage the browser better that's on Chrome OS. You get full-fledged remote printer management support. But this is the big one that they're really marketing right here. Full-fledged Microsoft Active Directory integration. Including single sign-on with their Google accounts and everything, all authenticated via Active Directory. You also get kiosk mode and public mode that it automatically delete. You get managed networked and proxies that you can remote push to the devices, which I thought you could do with regular Chrome, but they say Chrome Enterprise. You get theft prevention, wherever the hell that is. And of course, 24/7 enterprise support for $50 a year per device.
All at a much cheaper price than Windows licenses.
Much, 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 much cheaper. And the hardware is cheaper. It's more interchangeable. There's this thing that has happened many times, and I bet a lot of you that are in IT know this story. There is a thing about like the very high levels of a company. Every now and then, you get one of these employees, it's man or a woman, who are high enough in the company where what they do is so damn important that any disruption is immediately addressed, even if it means they go through computers at least once a year. I had this client, every 6 months. It was his computer. We finally got to the point, I think I talked about this in one of our shows, where we just built this monster maniac system when SSDs were still really expensive, and Xeon processors, and just put Xeon processors, put this thing in a RAID, started doing image snapshot backups every single night, just went all out. And he burned through that system. He just burns through that system. And the thing for him was, in a day, he's working with $5-6 million deals a day, maybe more. So a $7,000 monster machine was no big deal to him.
Yeah.
And there were other employees who would just sort of get some of his hand-me-downs that would still work. It was all sort of filtered down. But these things are so cheap to replace that your employees can destroy them. They can lose them. You can wipe them. You can. It's such a enticing business proposition, especially when you look at their other cloud services that this ties in with. Because when you start integrating Microsoft Active Directory with single sign-on to the Google Cloud services. You get the Google Apps Suite with this thing. You get Chrome OS. You get cloud storage. You can authenticate and manage the permissions via Active Directory. This is that final piece that clicks Chrome OS into this really ideal position for businesses. And then, for some really stupid reason, they're only charging $50 a year. Like I'm saying, that people would pay $50 a month for this.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
it's a good way to lock them in for all the other services.
you'll also be able to have a managed enterprise app store for just your users. It's something that's in beta right now, but it's going to use Chrome OS's new ability to run Android apps, and you'll be able to give them like a branded Play Store page that's the only section of the Play Store they can access that has like all of your company apps on it. That is, Google is working their ass off to compete with Microsoft. This is, I mean, I sort of set this up as Linux is a little screwed. Like, all these companies that are running Linux are just going to go with this instead, maybe. But I don't really think that's the case. I think people that are going to run Linux on the desktop need a more powerful operating system to begin with.
Yeah.
But who this really is going to screw over is Microsoft. This is because this is not only eating away at their OEM's hardware sales, it's eating away at the whole Office lock-in thing, because this also comes with all these great Google Cloud services. They're going for it, dude. Google's going for it. They're really going for it with this. And good on them, I suppose. Good on them.
It does seem like a typical Google thing. You just have this product that sits there and it's a sleeper for like half a decade or more, and then all of a sudden
That
it
sounds,
just clicks into place.
yeah, I suppose. That sounds like how like Microsoft used to do things.
Yeah.
Google more and more to me feels like the new Microsoft. That was a Microsoft move for a long time. And this whole ecosystem lock-in strategy is a Microsoft one. Google's just doing it with cloud services. Microsoft did it with file formats. It's just all, it's the 90s all over again, everybody. Hey, speaking of the 90s, let's make your bash prompt even cooler. So your bash RC is a handy little place you can go to make your prompt look like badass and stuff, like from the movies and whatnot. And so this is I forgot who passed this along to me, so apologies, but this is easyprompt.net. And I think it came from our Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like in the content channel in our Discord. So thank you to whoever did this, because this is so fun. It lets you pick the elements that you want to show up in your prompt. So say you want like maybe like your host name to be in your command prompt, your shell version, the current directory you're in, or the whole path is actually my favorite one, the shell release, or date and time information. Isn't that cool? What you get here is a web page, and you pick these blocks that you want. So you have your basic elements. So I like to put in username. I also like to put in the current path of the directory. And why not also have some status elements in there? You could have things like get status, or you could have time. You could have time or extra characters in there. You could maybe like to have like a few extra ASCII characters in there to make it look badass. I totally understand. So what's great about this is as you click these different things, you can move them around in this web interface, and it gives you a real-time preview output of what your prompt is going to look like. And then in a fourth box, it's just 4 boxes. In the fourth box, it gives you the code that you copy pasta into your bash RC file to make your command prompt look like that. How cool is that? So this is, and I was messing around with this. I was just deleting stuff and adding new stuff, and making like putting like a host or the full DNS name in there, all that kind of stuff. Shell version, it's really neat. And you can add spaces in there if you want it to look right, and you can mess with all that kind of stuff. So it's it was Code Chris on Discord. Thank you,
Coder
WW.
Chris, yeah.
Coder Chris. Thank you, WW. Thank you to Coder Chris. And thank you to WW for pointing it out. So it's easyprompt.net if you want to play around with that and make your RC all cool.
If you want something a bit more advanced and more crazy,
Yeah.
there's something called Powerline Shell.
Oh, yeah.
that
Oh,
is
yeah.
really intense.
We've got to have talked about
But-
that, right?
Maybe, but it's really damn awesome.
Okay, so in fact, I think it's installed by default in Solus.
Really?
Yeah, because Ike knows what's up. I don't know if it's turned on by default, but I know it's in there. Yeah, so PowerShell gives you. So if you've ever seen screenshots of people's computers that have the terminal up, and then they have in the terminal on the command prompt, they have the directory path in like these cool, almost capsule-looking. How would you describe that?
I don't know. It's kind of like a graphical representation in your command line.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat looking, and that's amongst other things that it does. You can. Yeah, that's really cool. Powerline shell is also a cool way to make your terminal. Look,
Yeah.
now just all of a sudden we turned into like a cool things to hack your terminal. That's,
Yeah, I actually had it on my mind because somebody I know from IRC just rewrote it in Go. And it's actually way, way faster.
oh man, what Powerline shell?
Yeah.
Is it available for Linux and Go?
Yeah.
Where do I? Yeah. So it's navigation trees, what some people in the chat room call it.
Uh-huh.
Status bar. If that's available for Linux, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's github.com/justgen/powerline-go.
Of course. There's, you know what? Now, okay, now wake me. You know what? I'm gonna wait. You know why? Because just wake me up when the Rust port comes. That's when I'll. DigitalOcean.com. Go over to DigitalOcean.com, create an account, and use our promo code of absolute power and performance. That's DO Unplugged. You create your account, then you apply DO Unplugged, one word, and you get a $10 credit. Now, keep that in mind because DigitalOcean's pricing is amazing. I love their 3 cents an hour machine. It's very fast. It's a great way to try out a project, mess around with something, and then totally economical to leave in production. You can get started in less than 55 seconds. You'll be logged in and ready to go. They got SSDs for all the different types of systems you might want, from the really high-end CPU systems and the rigs with lots of memory, all the way down to the $5 a month systems. They're all SSD. And the hypervisors have super fast 40 gigabit connections coming in. Of course, they run Linux and KVM for the virtualizer. And then DigitalOcean has built an API that is really nice, super smooth and simple. We work with it all the time. In fact, I think all of their tools use it as well. And because of that, there's lots of open source projects available using it. You can just install them on your phone or your Linux desktop. There's some that work right in your tray that you can manage your droplets. They have block storage that make it quick and easy to attach lots of more storage, up to 16 terabytes to a droplet. Pre-built open source apps you can monitor or you can deploy really quick, and monitoring. I do like that monitoring too. We use it mostly on and off. See, the thing about the monitoring that's really nice is, how do you know how powerful of a droplet do you need? How do you know? So
You
it's
monitor it.
Yeah, you monitor it. And it's easy to expand. So go with the $5 a month and see if it works for your workload. If you want, a lot of people like to use it for something like a WordPress site or an email server. I don't recommend running your own email server, but you definitely can.
Yeah,
And you don't need more than the $5 a month droplet to do that.
I've expanded a couple of droplets. All you have to do is basically just go into where it asks you how you want to expand it. You change the things, and then you just reboot it, and it's got the new stuff.
So just try it that way. So, whatever you're doing, like a Nextcloud system, this is a great example of that. I've done this with my Nextcloud instance because we uploaded a bunch of pictures. It grew. I'm like, I think I want to keep that stuff on there, so I'll just add more storage. And it's so economical.
It's seamless too. Like you don't have to go and edit config files.
No, I know it's DigitalOcean, dude. DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean.com. Just use our promo code DO Unplugged. DO Unplugged. It's one word. You apply it to your account after you sign up. DigitalOcean.com. So this week I got some things to say about Ubuntu, and we have sort of like a low summer turnout. I think as summer wraps up, I'm gonna be glad in some ways because I think we'll have more people show up in the Mumble room. Either that or everybody wants us to switch to Discord. That could be the subliminal message they're giving us by not showing up in Mumble. Maybe they're saying switch over to Discord, guys, because if they wanted us to stay on Mumble, they'd surely be here. So something to think about. But in the meantime, this is actually to my advantage, because neither Popey nor Wimpy have joined us for today's episode, and
So you can talk smack.
I have some things to say about Ubuntu. I don't run Ubuntu. I'm running Solus on this machine. I do run Ubuntu on some of our systems here at JB, but none of my personal daily use systems.
The mumble room.
Yep, I know that one does, but none of my personal daily use systems run Ubuntu. So I don't have really much of a horse in this race. So just full disclosure, this doesn't really impact me. But I was going to save this. I was going to save this to talk about it with Noah on User Air so that way he could back me up. So it wouldn't just be me saying this because it's just going to sound like Crazy Chris. But I think what we are seeing with Ubuntu 17.10 is what happens when an adult makes a Linux distribution. And I don't mean to be demeaning to all the other projects out there, but Canonical is doing things with 17.10 that I simply can't understand why it's taken, frankly, until they've come along and made a GNOME version for any of this shit to happen. It's sort of opening my eyes to how this could be done better by all the other Linux distributions. So there's several different avenues I could take. I could talk about the thousands of fixes they've now submitted to fix Bluetooth upstream. I could talk about that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about the fact that they're finally the only distribution that's actually taking on hardware-accelerated video playback and testing it and applying patches and getting it to work from the web browser down to the video on your screen. Everybody has claimed they have it, but no one actually got it working until Canonical came along and put the effort. I could talk about that all day. But today, we're going to talk about the new dock. Because this simple thing that they are doing perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. And I guess maybe for context, I'll give you one more example of something they've done recently that needs a lot more discussion and no one's talking about it. Canonical is doing something very unique with the way that they are implementing their GNOME desktop in Ubuntu 17.10. They are shipping it as a session option, just like the way that upstream GNOME ships GNOME Classic. You choose GNOME Classic, and it's like you're in a different version of GNOME Shell. But you're not in a fork of GNOME Shell. You're not in something that conflicts with your totally tricked-out version of GNOME Shell. You're just in a different GNOME Shell environment. GNOME Shell has been specifically architected to support this. This was a design intention of GNOME Shell. But every distribution out there, from Fedora to Anagros, just cocks up your main GNOME installation with their extensions that conflict with extensions from the actual publisher. They'll just install they'll just install the favorites dock and just say, screw it. Doesn't matter if it has the same extension ID as the one upstream. And then you consistently run into issues when you update your system. They couldn't have just implemented it in its own session. No, they didn't do any of that stuff. With 17.10, if you don't like the way Canonical ships GNOME, you log out, you choose the default option, and you've got stock GNOME. None of their extensions are installed. Their new custom dock we're about to talk about doesn't pop up. It's just GNOME, and it's been built to support this, and yet it took this company to do it. The GNOME developers tried to show the way with the Classic session is to show you how it could be done, but nobody did it. Everybody just had, for some reason, had to just modify the default GNOME session. But when we see them now doing something as simple as modifying a dock, you really see the care that's being taken in their approach with 17.10 and the sustainability that they're building into this distribution now. And anybody who said that Canonical isn't focused on the desktop, you got to reevaluate the facts, because this is a great example. So they're going to launch a dock that's their own dock by default in Ubuntu 17.10. It is a light fork of sort of the most famous and well-known dock for GNOME, Dash-to-Dock. And they've basically made a few tweaks to it. But it's how they've gone about all of this that really matters. I'm looking at you, Mint Project, with all of your different frickin' forks. So how did Canonical do this? And why didn't they just ship Dash-to-Dock? This is I guess you could call it a light fork. It's a fork done right, and I think it's really a sustainable approach. So first of all, let's cover some of the basics here. Why would they want it? Why would they want to have their own dock? Why not just use, if it's so popular, why not just use Dash-to-Dock? Why even bother? Why waste the time? Why have to invent their own thing? Well, first of all, this extension is installed by default on Ubuntu, just like I was talking about how Antergos does it. It means it comes from a package. It comes from a deb, from the main Ubuntu archive. So they've got to package it because that's how it's getting installed. So now they're instantly, without ever even shipping an ISO, they're in this problem where upstream is shipping their own version and publishing on the GNOME extension site, and their version is different. It's immediately an issue, because that is a very popular extension that's under active development. If Canonical's extension kept the same GNOME shell extension ID that Dash-to-Dock had, it would mean that users couldn't swap them out. You would either have to use the Ubuntu one or uninstall your dock, which would probably uninstall a whole bunch of other dependencies, and then try to get Dash-to-Dock installed. So they've done this, for one reason they've done this is so they have their own extension ID, so you don't have this conflict. But what's so badass about their implementation is the settings you tweak they're schema overrides. So you can actually share settings between the upstream dock and the Ubuntu dock. If you install the upstream dock, the Ubuntu dock automatically gets disabled. If you uninstall dash to dock, the Ubuntu dock automatically comes back on. Exactly the kind of behavior you would expect. They tweaked a few other small things about dash to dock, like they automatically made it top to bottom vertical, just like the Unity launcher is, so it looks like Unity. They tweaked a few things to make it look a little more like Unity, so that way it's sort of an easier, smoother transition for existing users. But here's a great thing, too, is they worked with the developers. They're all on board. They agreed this is a great way to do it, and they've been submitting patches upstream, which they are already applying to their code base. In fact, if I recall, you can actually find Canonical. Yeah.
So
they've done an upstream branch that has all of their own modifications, and they're going to regularly rebase on top of the upstream dash to dock to keep everything basically cozy.
Yeah. So it's a fork that's different but compatible.
It's an upstream fork. They're working with the developer, and what I love about it, which I think is so awesome, is the settings are like you can invest in one dock and then switch out, and you don't lose all of your special settings. And they say also the probably most important, invisible, the thing that you can't really see is the fact that they use a different extension ID, because that makes it possible to swap between them. You can stay up to date on each of them without having to worry about it. You don't have to uninstall one to get the other one like you have to do on Anagros.
It's like Ubuntu went to them and said, well, we like what you're doing here, but our vision is slightly different, but we want to maintain compatibility, so how can we do this so that our stuff will work with yours even if we're doing something a bit different?
And then the last piece that I really think is classy, that I think all the other forkers out there should try to integrate, is it's using two things that make it really respectful to switching back to upstream. If you install and enable dash to dock, you don't have to have it enabled, but if you when you do turn it on, even if Ubuntu dock is still turned on, it politely just vanishes and goes away and just lets dash to dock take over. And then if you change any settings in dash to dock, like anything that would modify dconf or G settings, those modifications will be reflected in both. That's super smooth. And then you turn off dash to dock, and the Ubuntu dock comes right back. And that sort of classy sharing of settings, using schema overrides, and then gracefully bowing out when the upstream version comes online, I think is nailing it. It's nailing it.
I think my only question would be, is there an option to actually disable that sharing? Because I can see a use case where some people might not want to share between the two.
Probably. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like you can turn off the override mechanism. So there is a way to turn that off, but I haven't tried it yet, obviously, so I don't know. And they talk in this blog post. This is Ubuntu Gnome Shell in Artful Day 5. It's sort of, I've been following these series, and it makes so much sense when you're thinking about moving users over and how to do this right. And you look at it in the totality. You look at the upstream fixes to Bluetooth. Why is 1,000 things they found in this development cycle for this one version of their distro? What's going on? Why has nobody else done that? This video acceleration stuff, the GNOME session stuff, and now the way they're handling this upstream fork. I mean, this isn't even the LTS release yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're doing all the heavy lifting now, so the LTS will be nice and stable, I guess.
It seems like a very sustainable approach.
Yeah.
Because by encapsulating everything in their own GNOME session, they don't have to worry about breaking or conflicting stuff if people want to install different extensions or don't like their configuration but still want an Ubuntu base. By modifying this dock to sort of bridge the move over from Unity 7, which is the most visible aspect of Unity 7. And it's legitimately the thing that when I sit people down in front of Unity 7, they click with immediately is that sidebar. And to do it like this, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to trying out 1710. I am very excited about this release. I gotta say, it's maybe the most excited I've been in 8 years of releases. I mean, I gotta go back quite a way to get this excited about an Ubuntu release again. And it's all going upstream.
I think it's always been something that I respect about Ubuntu, is that rather than look at what is the quickest way to do this, they say what is the best way to do this. Except now it's being applied to other upstream projects instead of them rolling their own stuff.
You know what I was surprised by was how popular the survey was for docs, because I was just saying last week, I'm kind of over docs. I'm just sort of done with them, but you look at all of the results and they're right. They link to it. People want docs. People want to use a doc. I don't know. For me, it's you put a bar down at the bottom of the screen, put the clock in there, put the tray icons in there, and call it good.
I mean, aren't the bars just really docks without animations?
I suppose, like, one of the things I like about the Budgie desktop is I can now put this bar on my side screen, and it is, I suppose if you've got extra sides room on these 16:9 screens than you do on the bottom, so there's that reason for it. But anyways, good post, lots of other stuff in there. Link in the show notes. But I want to talk about one more thing before we get to something that is going to ruin the life of any Star Trek fan. There is a proposal by your good friends over at Mozilla about turning on data collection in the Fox. Now, I want to be clear about this. This isn't like a creepy data collection, and they are starting very gracefully. They fully admit that they really don't have enough data on their users right now. They need more data about the types of sites they go to, the type of browsing they do. Are they using Flash? Are they seeing a lot of junk? How are the load times? And so what Firefox wants to do, what Mozilla wants to do, is they want to use a privacy project that allows them to collect data, but does it in a way that anonymizes essentially the data using something called differential privacy. So I believe the project is Rapport, Rapper, R-A-P-P-O-R, I think it's spelled.
Yeah, Rapper.
And it's a project that Google works on, and it uses differential privacy, which sends bogus data and real data, and then it's just sort of supposed to all work out in the wash if you have enough users. And they would install this, and they would anonymize the reporting, and then you would, along with good reports, you would also be sending them completely crap stuff, which is a weird approach. But the idea is that the average is more good, and then if you look at that data, you get something. But so the theory behind it is they can't even use your habits to try to narrow down who you are. Now, initially, they're thinking about rolling this out as a opt-in to try it. But if they decide to implement it, it's going to be turned on by default. And that's the part that's really getting people pissed off.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're bringing this up so soon after the whole the privacy concerns with the plugin stuff.
Yeah, I thought the timing on this was kind of weird for
like that was just a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
So when you're down and out and you're getting your ass kicked you're just getting kicked all over. I mean, it's bad, man. You're getting your ass kicked on the ratings. On the usage numbers. Is that the time to launch a "Hey, we want to spy on you" campaign?
I mean, I guess it depends on whether you consider it spying or not.
WW, what do you think? Differential privacy is kind of the new hotness. Apple says they're going to use it in future iOSs to anonymize data reporting. Mozilla says they need the data. What do you think about this?
This should be an optional thing. It should be popping up when you first set up Firefox, and it should be, hey, we want to do this, but we want your consent. And thing that I don't see with a lot of tools is that they don't give you an option to control the data. So, like,
you can turn it off. You can turn it off.
See,
yeah, it should be upfront. They shouldn't be going, oh, we're turning this on by default. Just kind of like Windows telemetry. It's on by default. Oh, this patch adds it. It's like, at what cost?
I'm kind of on the opposite side of the fence with that, though, because for usage analytics to be useful, you need a large amount, and most people are just probably going to click no.
I think if they do this, they're going to bury the setting probably in like a privacy tab inside settings. I don't think they would give you a pop-up because of that reason.
Exactly.
And I think that's why because they say currently we can collect this data when the user opts in, but we don't have a way to collect unbiased data without explicit consent. And so the problem that they're seeing is they're getting biased data by people who are willing to opt in.
Exactly.
And so they've got to solve that particular problem, and they're trying to use differential privacy to justify monitoring everyone.
And apparently the project they're using, that
the Google
Rapport
one.
or whatever, apparently it's the most widely distributed usage of differential privacy.
Yeah.
They'd probably would bury it about config, probably, if they were to do or have that option, though.
I mean, I don't really get the objection to truly anonymized usage statistics. Like, I can understand if you can be tied to it, but this seems like a pretty full-fledged implementation of we're trying to anonymize this as much as humanly possible.
And it's
Yeah.
data that Google and Apple are getting.
Yeah.
So their competitors are getting it. Yeah. What about years ago, I used to think about this. I don't think about it anymore, but doesn't collecting all of these metrics and having data collection points at every little end of the application slow down the application? Doesn't collecting this stuff in the background and uploading it constantly slow down the network? I mean, what the hell? I mean, I can't be a lot, but damn, I mean, I want this shit to be as fast as possible. It's just so frustrating. But I know that's neither here nor there. They say
Do you remember when Ubuntu had the Amazon scopes?
Yeah,
And people got upset. It's kind of like that because
yeah.
with that, you had the option of totally turning it off, and that's fine. Or maybe on one system, I had it on to if I was looking at Amazon or buying something,
See,
that
I can understand the objection to the Amazon scopes way more though, because it was directly tying it to individual users.
And the initial implementation wasn't all that secure either.
Yeah, that too.
So that definitely led to it. But Minimec, you say it's sort of like equivalent to submitting a crash report.
Yeah, I think if I remember well, if you first start Firefox with your new profile, you get a little note at the bottom of the page which says decide what you share. And if you click on it, you see that the health and crash report is enabled by default, and you can disable it. So I guess they just add another option
Great point.
for your personal data
or another
collection.
or it might just be another line in that paragraph even.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that to me is like has way more potential to tell what you're doing with your browser than this other stuff, because you can get URLs and stuff in crash reports.
So they're validating this right now, or they're about to. They're going to run an opt-out shield study, they say, to validate the implementation of this differential privacy project. The study will collect the value of users' homepage, which is that tile page that they think is so important it's worth selling advertising on, the one that I spend exactly half a second looking at once a day. So they're going to collect how much you guys click on those tiles, and they're going to select a random group of the release population, and they hope to launch mid-September, which isn't that around the time? And then in November you have 57. You got to wonder if this isn't going to ship in 57 because they expect that one to get a lot of downloads, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe.
57's not only is it going to the accumulation of a lot of their different projects, but it's also the new UI.
Yeah,
it's going to get all the attention.
If it's not in 57, it'll almost definitely be in 58.
Yeah. So they're going to launch their test pilot soon. Speaking of privacy, Plex really stepped in it over the weekend, and they've backpedaled a bit already since we've recorded this, but they announced that they were going to launch a data collection process that wouldn't really report on the files in your library, but would give them all kind of metrics, and you couldn't turn it off. So they're updating their privacy policy, and they're retracting on some of that. But I got to tell you, I saw a lot of angry comments from the audience who said they're trying out Emby after this. So check out some of our past episodes on Emby if you're looking for an alternative.
Honestly, to me, it seems kind of like the same situation, because it wasn't about them collecting data on your files. It was collecting usage statistics again.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are watching pirated content on Plex.
And I feel like, a lot of people will probably go in there and turn that off specifically, so they're not getting the usage statistics that they want.
So they've been pretty clear now after this release that they have no way of tracking which files you're playing unless you use a client that talks to a cloud service to initiate playback. So if you're using an Echo or a third-party app that uses the Plex Cloud API to start a file on your Plex server, in that case, they do have logs of which file you're starting. I like that they actually made that clear.
Yeah.
They said if you're just, using like the Plex app on your phone or on the TV or on your web browser and you're watching the latest episode of Game of Thrones, they didn't say that. I'm putting that part in. They don't know. They don't know what file you're watching. They just know you're watching content, basically. Don't know, man. I'm getting really... I feel like I'm getting privacy bankrupt. That's what it is. In one or two instances, I'm okay with this. I made this compromise when I put Echo Dots in the studio.
Well, see, the problem is
But in totality, I'm getting sick of it.
all of these different developers, they need statistics on how their stuff is used to make their products better.
Yeah. I guess the first 30 years of making software where they didn't have always on internet connected machines constantly sending back metrics, somehow they still managed to make good software.
Do you think software was good?
Yeah, actually, in some ways I think it was better than it is today because it didn't have so many damn interdependent connections. I guess I agree. I understand this is a hard problem. You know, we need to know what episodes are downloaded, although we don't track beyond the number.
Yeah.
I really hate to see Plex going down this path, and I hate them doing it ham-fisted, and the fact that they've had to make this big, huge public retraction is embarrassing for Plex.
And honestly, I think in some ways, because we don't collect more information, we're disadvantaging ourselves, but we do that consciously.
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting if there was some way, and I don't know how you would have this, if there was some way we could know exactly how many new users use Linux versus how many computer experts use Linux?
Or even like stuff like being able to track what part of the show people watch.
Well,
We could tailor our content.
Yeah,
but that's a limited subset of our audience.
Yeah, it's a very small subset, so it's kind of I mean, you can draw some conclusions from it, but there's so much more data out there if you could get all of it. Yeah, that's what
we could tailor our content to what people want without having to poll them for what they want.
That's what big advertisers have been trying to get different podcast apps to start collecting data, which is a creepy, slippery slope in my world, because to me, there's other ways of sussing that out besides getting playback locations. You know, you can tell by feedback from the audience, what they respond to. You can tell by, all that. There's all kinds of ways to get that.
But the problem with that is you're going to get that biased feedback.
I guess. But really, I mean, built-in metrics to everything we use. It feels like I'm getting nickel and dimed to death with my privacy. I mean, you really don't care that every app you almost use today, think about it, every app we pretty much use today is sending back usage data.
Doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I mean, as long as they're not using something to like try to track me down specifically, I don't care.
I draw the line at like health information or like stuff around my house. I don't really like them collecting like when certain things turn on or off, and that kind of stuff feels like it's too far.
That definitely is too far.
Well, that's where things are going though.
Well, I mean, depends on what you choose to support.
Yeah. Anyway, Mumbler, any thoughts on the Plex data collection, Firefox data collection, or the topic of data collection in general? I know it's got to be on some of your minds because just everything. Are you guys feeling this like nickel and dimed privacy death here?
The thing is, for me, is like, I understand that projects have to have some way to monetize and some way to get this information. They're going about it like a jealous boyfriend or someone that's going to keylog you to see what you're doing is not the way to go about it. You can talk to people, have a discussion with people that use your software, and make it so they can actually use the software.
Yeah.
Right. I really want like companies, or like if I had my own company, I would make it so like users had an option to see what data we're using, and when they want, delete it. I mean, you have to have some kind of level of respect for people that are giving up this privacy for these services.
Okay, so that's a great point, WW. So let's take that the next step. Say, okay, they need this somehow, plus some of them can monetize it, so it's a way to fund future development. If we hold those things true, and for sake of argument, we accept that differential privacy is legitimate, and that this project that Mozilla is using from Google is also legitimate, is that the right compromise then? Is the beard right? Like, okay, you can collect your data, but use differential privacy to fuzz it, and still give me the option at the end of the day to turn it off. Is that, it's going to be on by default, but it's fuzzed, and you can turn it off, and is that sort of a good enough compromise for you because it gives Firefox the data they need, it lets them make a better product, it lets them know where to focus development, but it is at least using differential privacy?
It depends, like, how is this going? Like, the thing is, once you're on the slope, how slippery does it get?
That's how I'm feeling. Yeah.
Because you have to, like, okay, we know, like, you, me, Rikai, anybody that's in mobile right now and watching, like, we're in like, you're either a technologically advocate, you're technologically inclined, you work in tech. We know that there's DEF CON, there's someone out there, like, looking for a weakness. Yeah. You just know that by default. So to us, we know the caveats of such things. But to the average user, they don't know. They're not going to know. They don't care. That's a lot of what I run into with
Right.
people I know
Yep.
or other people.
And
So,
default reigns supreme.
See,
oh yeah,
I feel like, especially in the case of Firefox and this differential privacy project, both of these are open source, so people can go and see exactly what they're collecting.
Yep. This
But-
is actually rare. That not probably super common, but thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you're really super worried about it, there is an escape hatch here for you.
Yeah.
You're right. So and it does look like it's a legitimate project. It does seem to be very popular, and it does have a lot of contributors. And Google is a main sponsor of it. Google obviously has skin in the game to create ways to monitor people that doesn't get them in trouble.
Yeah.
It's probably how they watch students.
Especially with recent EU lawsuits.
How much you want to bet this is what they use for Google Apps to say that they're not specifically tracking you, but they're still collecting metrics?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably why they are so creepy. All right, well, let's take a moment because I'm so excited. In fact, there's something that happened to me this week besides the solar eclipse. This might have been more. Boy, let's see. Seeing celestial objects line up in the sky in front of me and be in the path of the shadow of heavenly bodies is a big event to happen to a person. But Stage 9 also happened to me this week, and I'm going to tell you about Stage 9, which may have a more long-lasting impact on me, and more importantly, you. But first, let's talk about making yourself better before we kill all of your time. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there to support the show and sign up for a free 7-day trial. It's a platform to learn all about Linux. They've just expanded on some of their AWS stuff just recently, and I think for me, I would have killed for something like this because I really suffered from anxiety of I got to go to this client and I have got to go do this thing that our sales guy just told them I knew how to do, and I've done it maybe once 2 years ago, and that's where these hands-on labs for me were just, boy, that'd be a game changer. And now just giving me just the ability to experience it. Such a great feature. If they only did this, Linux Academy would be worth it. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Of course, they have so many more features.
You know, Chris, I'm going to take a different tack with this.
Go for it.
You took the whole nice business angle. Me, I'm going to say that you can become a Linux genius in your underwear.
Well, that's definitely true. I mean, you think about it. What better way to become a genius on something and then in your underwear? 'Cause
Exactly.
You're not distracted by all those scratchy clothes.
The best way to learn is no pants.
I completely agree. No pants and just the right temperature. The music you like going. I think maybe light a candle. I mean, I'm not going to judge you. They also have self-paced, in-depth video courses in every Linux, cloud, and DevOps topic. They have instructor mentoring, humans that are available to help you. In fact, one of those humans is in Seattle right now. They have a course schedule that works with your busy schedule. They have flashcards that get forked by the community. They have cert training that goes right into courses for like a path to get a certification. And I really think that if you want something that is sort of scratching that podcast itch, and that sort of audiobook itch, their content you can download and listen to offline is perfect for that.
So let me be clear. You're telling me that I can there's humans doing this and not Elon Musk style AI?
This is what they do. They're all about it. In fact, if you check out their Twitter feed, you'll see some of that. Linux Academy.com. Also, they were just honored to be one of the companies included on the 5,000 list of fastest growing companies. Have you seen this at Inc. 5,000? I just saw this on their Twitter feed. I pulled it up right here on the show. Inc.com, Linux Academy. Look at that, number 78 on the...
Wow, top 100.
Yeah, that's amazing. Holy crap. Look at those. Boy, you should go there. You should go to...
That must be some pretty big growth to be in the top 100.
Here's what I'm going to tell you to do. We'll leave it as an exercise to the listener to go to Linux Academy's feed, to a Twitter feed, Linux Academy.com, and then look at this link. But give me one guess on what you think their three-year growth percentage was.
1,045%.
More.
2,800%. 10,000%.
No, hold on. I'm not going to give it away. But the link is in their Twitter feed if you'd like to know. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. There's a reason why they've grown like crazy in the last 3 years. It's probably because they've been sponsoring us. The Jupiter Broadcasting Effect. linuxacademy.com/unplug. Get a free 7-day trial and keep us on the air. Now, this is a self-indulgent moment for me, but it is newsworthy. A version for Linux will be shipping today, a brand new version of Stage 9. Now, what is Stage 9?
That sounds like a Microsoft video blog.
Yeah, no, it does, doesn't it? It is a project to recreate the entire set of the NCC 1701D Enterprise from the Star Trek The Next Generation. And it is using the Unreal Engine 4, which means it works on a lot of graphics systems. And if you have a good graphics system, it's unbelievably gorgeous. If you're on Windows, it also has VR support. The Linux version, ironically, right now, is just being held up by packaging issues. So remember how we were saying that packaging isn't a big problem on Linux? Yeah, it's... Yeah.
They should ship it as an app image.
Well, I actually suggested a snap, but yeah, an app image would also be really great. They have, but they do have the last release for Linux available right now, which is still great, still a lot of fun. And if you're on the Mac platform, they also have a Metal version if you want to see what Metal's like, I guess. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but you could do that too if you wanted to do that.
I think I might have an app to slip in Wimpy's pocket.
Oh yeah. Well, that may or may not have already happened.
Oh.
That may have already been a thing. So Stage 9, it's available for Linux. You can download version 7 very soon, version 0.7. Right here, I've got version .06. And it's as cool as you would think, even on my NVIDIA GTX 960 here. This is running on Solus with the proprietary NVIDIA driver. We'll start here. I'll show you the bridge a little bit if you're watching the video version. It looks great. And I actually have this on medium camera settings. I can actually turn it up a little bit to high.
There
we go.
Chris.
Yeah, what?
We are under attack.
Oh, really? Do you need me to trigger red alert?
Yes.
Okay, stand by. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Battle stations.
We are now at battle stations. So this is pretty great. And like I was talking about, if you've got a good graphics card, it's a great way to really push your Linux rig. Because one of the things that is a little disappointing sometimes is some of the games can't really push the high-end video cards. This thing definitely can. And if I had VR set up on Windows, I would definitely be giving this a go. Anyways, Stage 9.
A nice way that they hid the loading screens, Chris, was
through the turbo lift.
Yeah, the turbo lifts are the loading screens.
I would call out a few things. So this shot is just a really simple hallway shot here, but the lighting, and this is on a GTX 960 on medium graphics.
So last generation.
Yeah, but there's reflections on the metal wall panels that are gorgeous. When you come into the main engineering here, there is a little bit of a J.J. Abrams lens flare effect from the warp drive. I don't know if this will come through in the download version, but it supports positional audio. So when I move around the engine room, the sound of the warp drive changes depending on where I'm standing, which is just the coolest thing. All of the panels that you saw used, everything's accurate. In fact, I've been walking around this ship by memory from the show. It is remarkably accurate. It is an incredible recreation. It's one of the coolest Star Trek things I've ever used, and it's on Linux.
You know what, Chris? You say that, I got to say I'm really disappointed.
Oh, yeah? What's wrong?
It's called Stage 9.
Yeah.
Where's Deep Space Nine?
Right outside the window. Yeah, check this out. Let's go here. So let's see. We'll go to 10 forward. I'll take you to 10 forward. So here's the funny thing. I don't know about this version, but in the version 7, I watched it in their YouTube video. They have a shuttle bay. Now, hello there. Hi, how are you? Are you having a good day?
So are you saying that there might be a possibility someday?
You can take the shuttle out. And you could probably someday go to Deep Space Nine.
Okay, I'm in.
So if I go out the window here, I think... Oh, no, I guess not. You can see Bajor, but just right there is Deep Space Nine, but you can only see the bottom of the docking because it's above the ship.
Yeah, because
it's all spatially correct, which is really cool.
The Enterprise is cool, but really we want to go and visit Quarks.
Yeah, that would be great. So I have all the different levels on here too, which is just, again, if you're a geek, it's a lot of fun if you're a Star Trek geek. But even if you just want to push your Linux rig or play around with an Unreal-based engine game on Linux, there's a few of them now, obviously, but this one's a pretty special one. Lots of hidden stuff. All the cool sets, including the Arboretum, Data and Worf's quarters, the data center of the Enterprise, which is a particularly great map on this. Boy, I wish we could show it. You should, if you want to see it, check out the full live stream if you're a patron. I walked through the data center of the Enterprise in the pre-show, and so I'll be posting that for our patrons.
Here's a critical feature question. Can you sit down like Riker?
Yeah, you mean step over the chair?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think they've added that yet. They should. There's a few things. There's definitely a few nods and stuff like that are in there. But yeah, so it's Stage 9. And I had a chance to chat with one of the developers on Discord this morning. and before the show, and I was asking him, what's going on with the Linux packaging stuff? What's the hard time? And oh, well, look at that. He just legitimately right now as we're recording, 4 minutes ago, just posted the log. So if you might be able to help him get this off the ground, they have a Discord server where the devs prefer to be reached, and that is linked on the Stage 9 page. And then he just posted, and I'll link to this in the show notes, their build log issues. And this is what's holding them up from getting the latest version on Linux. It looks like he keeps getting a libcurl issue. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put a link to that. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and maybe I'll send that along to some of our friends that work in packaging, because it'd be really cool to get this available easily for Linux users, because it's a pretty cutting-edge thing, and when VR support comes, it's going to be one of the few really nice Unreal 4 things that we can try out. I know that's not on everybody's priority list, but something about me, the old Linux advocate in me, I don't want to see us slip behind on this kind of stuff. And it's so great to see just some fan project like this that doesn't have a ton of time trying to make it work on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that. And in big parts because of the Unreal Engine, but it sure makes it look pretty. Stage 9, if you want to check it out directly, the website is stage-9.co.uk, and I'll have a link in the show notes, and that's where you, at their Stage 9 websites, where you can find their Discord channel. They also have a subreddit, which, as you'd which figures Stage 9 on Reddit. Anyway, I thought that was kind of a neat thing. I know you're not a big Star Trek guy, but if I did manage to get the VR set up here, would you give it a go? Does it have to have the walking component? Because I guess that's part of it, right?
Well, I mean, you can use the controllers.
Sticks, yeah.
But I don't know. I really want DS9.
Yeah. Boy, the amount of work that it goes to creating this. These are every detail, down to the materials, and just like everything, like the stitching to the carpet is accurate. So I can't imagine the time.
Just imagine all the time that they had to go through and rewatch all those episodes and rebuild these scenes, and probably look at like concept art and all kinds of crazy stuff.
So I asked one of the developers. I said, "So is this what's the license? Is this license? Kind of getting at it. Like if this is open source, this is something people could really kind of get around here." And the official answer is they're just distributing it as a binary, and there's no license. There's no implicit license they're attaching with that at this time. So I would imagine that's all rights
keeping
reserved.
their options open.
Yeah, all rights reserved for the time being. There's not only is it just an impressive technology demo, because you download this thing on Linux, you run it, and now you're in this incredibly gorgeous 3D rendering, which is a lot of fun to try out on your different graphics cards, and seeing how they perform, which for me is just a fun benchmark, and seeing how hot they get and all that kind of stuff. But then to see such an accurate recreation of something that I'm such a big fan of, it was pretty impressive. And it's been, there has been times where as a Linux user I was left out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really great that and these, by the way, screenshots that I'm showing, if you're watching the video version, are in-game renderings. They even have the battle bridge.
Speaking of Star Trek and times you were left out, how's still going?
Oh. So they've moved to DirectX 11 only, and Wine is at a good clip, but Wine is still fully implementing DirectX 11 support. So yeah, I've had to take a break. That might explain my my passion.
You're
for
jonesing.
This. Yeah, because I've been lacking any Star Trek gameplay on Linux for a while. If anybody else out there has Star Trek games that they've played under Wine, let me know at ChrisLAS, because I'll definitely kill time while the Wine project gets. So I know they'll get there eventually.
Yeah,
they'll get there eventually. Hey, so want a little more Beardsley? Want a little more of the Rekai here? Check out User Air. He's on User Air every damn week, and we got a new episode coming out in a few days. And my old buddy John, who hasn't been on for a while, joins us and shares some pretty funny stories.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great episode. We also talked about Linux extremism.
Yeah. Also, just a warning, this episode is probably a little bit more not safe for work than most.
Which is really saying something, actually.
Yeah. Okay, maybe a lot more.
Well, it depends. It depends.
I guess it depends on what you're into.
Yeah. So did you have anything you wanted to plug before we ran out of here?
You can just find me on Twitter at RekaiLP, or over at rec.net.
Rec.net.
For my for my Twitch.
I got to come up with a good name for the vlog, because I'm going to be posting our Eclipse story. There's some interesting challenges on our way down to the Eclipse, and I'm going to post all that on my vlog, which is youtube.com/Chris Fisher.
You know what, Chris?
It needs a good name.
Chris, I can offer you a free subdomain. hair.rec.net can forward to your YouTube.
There you go. There you go. I guess one more thing I'll plug, just because it's been pretty popular the last few days, and it just seems to be growing more and more, is our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Discord.me/Jupiter Colony.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on there, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
generally a pretty nice place.
Yeah. And if Telegram is more of your flavor, well, guess what? We got one of those too. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/Telegram and join in the group conversation over there. I try to pop in all over the place, in and out, but the conversation's always going on even when I'm not in there. You can also find Beardsley in there from time to time. There's just all kinds of ways to get you.
Yep.
It's pretty good. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week's episode. Hopefully Mr. West's car troubles are all fixed. We got to get him a Linux running car.
Yeah.
You know, something Linux powers so it doesn't break down on him. Because I'm sure that would solve all of his problems.
And for people looking for a tech snap after they finish watching LUP,
Oh, that's coming.
yeah,
It's just going to be a little bit.
yeah, a little bit.
All right, we'll see you right back here next week.
I've never installed GNU/Linux.
It's negative in the freedom dimension.
All right, jbtitles.com. Let's go pick our title. Mumble Room, we were small in number, but you guys did great. Mr. Fax, I never got it. Or Robo. We have Robo the arms back too. Robo arm, robot arm, whatever. I never get it right, but it's good to see you guys. Thank you for making it 2 this week. Appreciates it. And now let's go pick our title. What do you think? One more job before we get out of here, gentlemen, before we ride off into the sunset. Should we go pick our title over at jbtitles.com? Well, Beardsley, I was glad you're able to make it. Kind of a lower key show, it felt like overall.
It's a lot easier for me to make it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you have less car troubles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt like a lower key show, but still good, right? It still felt good, didn't you think? Was it all right? Well, yeah. Any notes, as they say, chat room on today's episode or Mumble Room? Feel free to submit them to us before we get out of here. But I thought it was a good episode, just a little low key.
I think, as with every week, many people are going to hate me. And
Oh,
some
you
people
think?
are going to love me.
Jeez, I mostly hear all good things. People like hearing. People call you, the what do they say? The man of the people.
The pragmatist.
Yeah, the man of the people.
I just think it's like people like I grew up with the net like when it was really starting to penetrate into the public,
Mm-hmm.
and so my opinions are different than Rikai's, but I love hearing Rikai's and talking to him about it. That's what I love, is that I can respect him and talk about him and get more information or get links and just process
Yeah.
it more. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just disagree and move on. Or,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly. We need a lot more of that. We need a lot more of that.
How young does he think I am that he doesn't think I was around when the internet was new too?
I
mean, thank
I
you.
don't know. I'm like 5 years older than Chris, so
Oh, fair enough.
So what about Privacy Bankruptcy by Token Ring is good. It's in competition with When Clouds Cry, which is also good. We could also jazz it up and we could say Mozilla's Privacy Bankruptcy. No? Okay. Too jazzed? Firefox?
I don't like privacy bankruptcy myself.
Wow.
Of course, I was also taking the opposite opinion.
jbtitles.com, jbtitles.com. When Clouds Cry? It rains? Is that-
What's that in reference to? Specifically.
I would imagine Mozilla not have enough data.
Or maybe the backups.
I think more of the backups.
So I guess in multi, it sort of covers both, which is kind of good. That always kind of, I'm gonna toss a boat in for When Clouds Cry. I'm gonna give it a boat.
I also kind of like Forks Done Right.
Forks Done Right is good too. WW coming with it. Oh man. All right. So we got to do some consolidated voting because we got a bunch of really good contenders here at the top. So everybody head over. Do me a solids.
Oh, how about How to Measure a Fox?
When Clouds Cry, currently leading. JB Titles. So now that I'm back on Solus, I have the actual Spotify desktop client installed again for like the first time in a while. Because that shit definitely broke Anna Gross months ago. So
Yeah,
now-
someone earlier was having trouble with tap to click or something in May.
Always the problem.
What's that?
The tap to click is always a problem.
So, Forks Done Right and When Clouds Cry are tied now. Forks Done Right was probably the most energetic time of the show.
Tell you what, Chris, How to Measure a Fox is climbing up there.
Jeez. I like the way it looks on the screen.
Yeah.
JBTitles.com. So we got to break out. Oh God, you guys. Are you guys screwing with me? Is that what's happening right now? Because we have a tie. This is
I've never installed GNU/Linux.
Forks Done Right pulling ahead with one vote right now. We need like a timer. Alexa, set a 30-second timer.
30
Cancel.
seconds.
No, she's too stupid. She's too
We need the 24 sound effect for the time counting down.
What did she set the timer for? What?
This is too stupid timer.
What?
I presume for 30 seconds.
So she wanted a name for the timer? Is that what she meant?
No, she wanted the time, but then afterwards we named it too stupid.
The thing with the Echo is if you don't nail that syntax, it just don't work. That's so dumb. Anyways, Forks Done Right's pulling way ahead now with 12. I kind of like it too. Oh, it's done.
There's your timer.
Yeah,
Just too stupid timer.
That's good, dude. Stupid timer is done. All right, good job, everybody. We're going to go with Forks Done Right. Close. Why is she still talking?
Apparently she was letting you know again.
Okay, Alexa. I feel like she's harassing us.
Alexa, remove timer. God damn it. It's broken. Alexa. Alexa.
Stop.
She's not answering me.
She stopped.
I like confusing my one with giving the wake word as a computer and letting it listen to Star Trek. It gets lovely and confused.
Let's go with Forks Done Right. Now it's a clear winner with 14 votes. WW, you've pulled ahead. You have pulled ahead, sir. Congratulations. You are our big wiener. You win all of the things. Stage 9.
I feel like a real politician now. I've influenced the vote.
Yeah, nice, dude. Log. So, I'm going to send that to Mr. Wimpress right now while I'm thinking about it.
Oh, the stage 9?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mycroft is still a thing. That is still a thing.
Let's be real, Chris. The Echo's still worth it, if only for, farts.
Geez, I got a lot of... So I have 51 messages with notifications, and then I have hundreds more without notifications, but that's because of group chat.
Yeah.
So Forks Done Right is it. I've passed along the output log to Mr. Wimpress to see if he could maybe help them with snaps or something. And maybe somebody listening at home will look at that log and help them out. Maybe somebody who likes Star Trek or something. All right. Are we ready? Are we all done? I think we're all done. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for being here, Mumble Room. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys come back next week, y'all. Goodbye now.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
Later.
Goodbye, chat room. Thank you, too, for making it. I hope you all come back. In fact, maybe even consider joining us in that Mumble Room, if you will. What do we have live coming up? We still have BST Now? Or are they done? Pre-recording?
BST Now, I believe, should be live tomorrow.
And we have Unfilter. Yeah. I don't know what... I have not decided what I'm covering yet. And then we probably will have a Makeup Tech Snap soon, too.
Either tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah. And then, of course, release-wise later in the week, User Error.
And also Coder.
And Coder on Thursday.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. See you later. Bye, guys. Hello, and welcome to Linux Action News, our weekly take on Linux and the open source world. This is episode 15, recorded on August 20th, 2017. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
Hello, Joe, and my podcast-tuned ears tell me that sounds a bit like a hotel room. Are you still at OggCamp over there?
I am still at OggCamp, yes. I've been there all day yesterday and all day today.
How's it been going?
Yeah, it's been going great, and I'm going to be going out for the social event tonight as well, Sunday night as we record this in the UK. But it's been really good. I've seen a bunch of talks about loads of random stuff, but I think one of the good ones for me was Richard Brown from OpenSUSE. He gave a really comprehensive overview of how the project works and how it ties in with SLE, the enterprise version and stuff, and that was really good. And also he did one today, a shorter talk about OpenQA and how that relates to Tumbleweed and why they think that's the best way to do a distro, which is a little bit controversial to say that a rolling release is better than the snapshot releases that Ubuntu do. That
does sound pretty interesting, and it sounds like also a few shows got produced while you're there, so there's some content out of OggCamp people can look forward to if they go check out Late Night Linux. So overall, pretty productive, Joe.
Yeah, so far so good.
Of course, there's another group of folks that are having a party this week, and that's GNOME. GNOME has officially turned 20, Joe.
Yeah, can you believe it's that old as a project?
It kind of makes me feel old. I know that's a selfish take on it, but that was my first thought. Whoa, wait, what? 20 years? Oh, no.
Yeah. And Debian has turned 24.
1993. That was the first release of Debian. Unbelievable. 24 years of Debian, 20 years of GNOME, two projects that have had a huge role in my Linux usage. Debian Day. What do you think of that, Joe? We should start celebrating Debian Day.
Yeah, we should definitely, yeah. Maybe we can convert a few people, maybe.
Speaking of Debian, there's a bit of a remix for the Raspberry Pi that's gotten an update.
Yeah, the previous version of Raspbian was based on Jessie, and now they have updated it to Stretch, so it's kind of up to date now. And there's not anything massively different in there. You've got new versions of things, new PHP, and some of the kind of core apps have been updated. Like Sonic Pi has been updated to version 3 now.
Yeah.
Which is a major update for that. That's got a lot of new features on there. But, you know, in this blog post about it, did you notice them talking, well, Simon Long was talking about how he's fixed some issues with passwordless sudo and the fact that the default user is Pi. And if you change that, then some applications don't like it, and he's kind of fixed that.
Yeah.
But to me, that just highlights that I just don't think that it's put together very well, that distro. I think that having a default username and password, and you can change it, but it doesn't prompt you to do that, or at least not in very overt terms. And then to have sudo with no password, it just seems like it's security and usability are always a balance, right? But in this case, I just feel that they've got that balance wrong for me, and that's why I would always use Ubuntu Mate on the Pi.
One thing that was a red flag to me, and it's absolutely their choice to go this route, but they've ripped Pulse Audio out. And that, to me, was a bit of a red flag. That's, when you roll backwards, that's generally not something that's sustainable. I remember a time in Linux where only one application could use your audio interface at a time. And if you had something playing sound, that's all you could listen to. So when we start to slide backwards in audio, it does make me a little concerned. I'm not saying Pulse Audio is the best thing ever, but just completely ripping it out and then saying, oh, if you need that, just install it yourself, seems a little bit of a backwards approach. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't have extensive use with it on the Raspberry Pi. So maybe this is the right move. But that was a red flag to your point.
Yeah, and another regression is, well, I suppose a change. Do you remember when they made a theme for LXDE and started calling it a desktop environment and called it Pixel?
Yeah.
And I pointed out to them that was probably not such a good idea because of the Google Pixel,
sure,
and that they might have trademark issues.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, it's fine, don't worry, it's totally different. Well, now they have silently rebranded it as Raspberry Pi Desktop, and not a single mention of Pixel on their website anymore, apart from the old article.
That's a good move, though. I mean, we don't know why, although I think your reason might be it, but that is a good move on their part.
Well, I asked Ben Nuttall, the community manager. He did a lightning talk at OggCamp yesterday.
Oh.
And I asked him that very question, and he just took his phone out of his pocket and held it up. as to why they've rebranded away from Pixel.
Was it a Pixel?
I believe so, yeah.
That's. I think you nailed it then.
I suspect they got a letter from Google, but he wouldn't say for definite.
Yeah. So here's something then that's good. Let's end on a positive note with our coverage of this. They have a fix for that Broadcom 43 wireless chipset that ships on the Raspberry Pi 3 and Pi 0. It potentially allowed an attacker to take over the chip and execute code on it. And this stretch release includes a patch to address that vulnerability. That's a pretty important fix and a good reason to update.
Yeah, and to be fair, one thing that is quite impressive about this distro is that it will work on any Raspberry Pi, from the very first one, on the zeros, on the 2, the 3, and it'll just work regardless of which Pi you have, which is not something can be said for any other OS. Mm-hmm. So fair play to them on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Just because Debian's 24 years old doesn't mean they're sitting still and enjoying the architectures and systems they already run great on. Work continues for Debian on mobile devices.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that you can actually run a proper GNU/Linux distro on some of these portable devices, including the Pocket Chip, which is a pretty cool little computer. And even a phone, Zero Phone, which is based on the Raspberry Pi Zero.
Very geeky phone.
Yeah. The thing is that with the death of Ubuntu Phone and Firefox OS, you kind of think that all hope is lost and Android is the only way if you want Linux on a kind of embedded small device. But it's good to see that Debian is actually working on this stuff and hasn't forgotten about it.
I agree. And there's actually a device shipping soon that looks really compelling that'll ship with Debian. The Pandora folks are getting ready to ship the Pyra. I think I'm saying that right. Pyra. It's a 5-inch LCD touchscreen. It has gaming controls on it, but it also has a full QWERTY little mini keyboard. It looks about the size of an older Nintendo 3DS. It has a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core ARM CPU, which you could upgrade. You can get up to 4 gigs of RAM, backlit keyboard, and yeah, Debian pre-installed on these. And these guys have a history of shipping. It's a pretty compelling little device, and if you want something super mobile, I like it. And Joe, you'll like this too, at least in the screenshots. It's running XFCE.
Well, it's the only desktop that makes sense.
So there's actually a few. When you stop thinking about the consumer handhelds like the Galaxy phones and the Nexus phones, and you start thinking about these really awesome geeky devices that honestly only a niche is going to want to buy, but that's fine. Debian starts to make a lot of sense here. The Zero Phone was an interesting one, but also they're working on the Samsung Galaxy S Relay 4G. Now, I just said don't target consumer phones, but if you do need something that can make calls for some reason, and you want something running Debian, that's also going to be an option. But the Pyra to me had the most compelling feature set. A really nice modular handheld computer with gaming controls, Wi-Fi, multiple SD card slots, USB ports. You can get it in Europe or the US, and it's going to be preloaded with Debian. The only downside, when I started to get a little bit more interested in it and looked at the pre-orders, the one I would want with 4 gigs of RAM is about $670. Little too expensive for me.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, kind of related. While I've been here at OggCamp, I got my hands on the GPD Pocket.
Oh, yeah?
Briefly.
What do you think?
Its build quality is brilliant. It's milled aluminium. It feels like a MacBook Pro type. But software-wise, it doesn't really work with certainly the LTS version of Ubuntu that was on there. And also, when I put it down on the table, it turned itself off and on again because of a loose connector in there.
Okay.
So there's some quality control issues by the looks of things.
Yeah.
But I really want one. If they weren't so expensive, I kind of wish I'd backed it now. But yeah, you see it all at OggCamp. It's brilliant.
There's another device coming out soon that is sort of making me also interested. This space is really starting to get interesting. My better sense says wait another generation. That's what my better sense tells me. But my early adopter sense says jump in now. So it's obviously getting more and more interesting. We'll have some links in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. But in the meantime, those of us that have existing devices and nothing's really compelling to us, that's the situation I find myself in with my Nexus 6P. Lineage is starting to look more and more attractive, and they've recently launched a summer survey that I have to be honest with you, Joe, after I started taking the survey, even though I'm not a recent Lineage user, it actually made me want to use Lineage more and more. I hadn't realized how great it's gotten. And just looking at some of the questions in the survey, it's really standing out.
I haven't used anything else apart from it. Well, I used Android Ice Cold, which is based on it, for a while. But as soon as I bought my OnePlus 3T a couple of weeks ago, literally the first thing I did was flash Lineage on it.
Yeah, you did. That is, in fact, I remember it was basically, hey, I got this, and it's already running Lineage, which is pretty funny. There was no gap. For me, I got the Nexus line of devices because I wanted to just get it directly from Google, and I thought if I'm going to be on an Android device, I should just run as close to what Google envisions for Android as possible. And what I've discovered by that is it's not good enough, and it's boring, and I don't use my Nexus 6P as much. And Lineage seems like a great way to sort of inject a little bit of life back into the device and make it a little more compelling again. So the survey is linked in the show notes if you're a Lineage user and you want to give them your thoughts. They're calling it their summer survey. And they have divided it into 5 areas: apps, wallpapers, features, infrastructure, and how they handle public relations. So it's worth checking out lineageos.org/summer-survey, or go over to linuxactionnews.com/15 and find the link in the show notes.
Yeah, and the thing is that you have no right to complain about a project if you don't take part in these surveys. I will always do a survey if I can, because that's the best way to give them direct feedback, crowdsourced info and opinions. So if you do use Lineage, then I urge you, do go and fill this out and help them out. It's a very simple way to give them a couple of minutes of your time to really help the project out.
DigitalOcean.com. Go over there, create your account, and then apply our promo code Here's the Thing. All one word, smush it together like you're slurring it, and get a $10 credit at DigitalOcean.com. DigitalOcean is simple cloud hosting that you can get deployed in less than 55 seconds. I'm talking from getting the machine created to being logged in as root and creating and working on your project. DigitalOcean.com, promo code Here's the Thing. Everything uses SSDs. They have a simple API. They have highly available block storage, lightning fast networking with private networking that doesn't count against your transfer, which is really brilliant if you have a front-end proxy server connecting to back-end web servers or doing backups on their back-end. That private networking's over their data center LAN too, so it's crazy fast. They have load balancing as a service, team support if you want to work with a group, and monitoring and alerting to make you look like a boss. DigitalOcean.com, use our promo code Here's the Thing, get started in seconds, and see how great that interface is, how simple it is. DigitalOcean.com, promo code Here's the Thing.
One of the projects that I've been watching closely for a few years now is Solus, and this week they've come out with Solus 3. Now, full disclosure, Ike, the founder and lead developer of Solus, is on my other podcast, Late Night Linux, so I'm pretty much bound to say good things about it, but this is a really solid release.
Yeah, this is the 3rd iteration of Solus since they've moved to a rolling release, and I wanted to watch this kind of come out a couple of times after that transition, and it was this one that made me install it on the machine I'm sitting in front of right now, which is one of my most important machines in the studio. They've moved from a regular snapshot model that a lot of traditional distributions take, and they've now gone with sort of a hybrid, curated rolling release model. And that works perfect for me because it keeps the applications fresh. I've opted to use the LTS kernel and the LTS video drivers, so those remain constant and stable. And I think it's a really good balance for me. This is also the first release of Solus to ship with an LSM by default. The Linux security models like SE Linux or AppArmor that are essentially a control list or a control system that prevent applications from going outside certain boundaries. And Solus hadn't really picked a horse in that race, and now they've chosen AppArmor. And by shipping AppArmor by default, they've also brought in a bunch of the support they need to ship really good snap support. Like great, essentially Ubuntu-level snap support with full confinement, using the Linux security module within their own kernel, which this module happens to be AppArmor, to use snap. So now we have complete Flatpak with confinement support and snaps with confinement support on Solus, which is great for users of the operating system that might want to install something that isn't in their curated repository.
Well, that was one of the biggest criticisms to date of Solus, that their repo is relatively small compared to Debian or Ubuntu, for example.
Yeah.
And now this basically takes care of that, or it certainly will in the future.
Yeah, I am looking forward to adding support for a couple of applications I don't think they would ever want to package. Maybe things that run more as a server with Nginx and I'm thinking of certain like Usenet clients and whatnot that I just don't think would ever end up in the user repository for Solus. So this is pretty cool. It also represents some pretty great cross-platform collaboration between the canonical Snapcraft folks and Solus, which we got a little bit of the backstory on last week's Linux Unplugged from Wimpy and Ike, which sounded like essentially they just had to kind of point him in the right direction and he was able to roll all this in. But fascinating nonetheless. And not to focus too much on Snaps because there's a ton of other pretty great features in their custom desktop Budgie 10.4, which has new animations, a new alt tab, a new nightlight feature that changes the color tones at night, all other kinds of really nice things, including modifications to the menu that I really appreciate as a new adopter of the Budgie desktop.
Yeah, not to mention the most important thing, to put the panel in the correct place at last on the bottom.
You know, I read somebody say on the internet recently that Solus is one of the most newsworthy Linux distributions, and I have to agree. There's a lot happening here, and it's been fascinating to watch it for a little while myself.
Yeah, it seems like we were right when we said that once Ike goes full-time, development's going to accelerate, and it's just gone at an amazing speed. It was already going pretty quickly, and it was already quite newsworthy, but it seems like Ike is going to be providing us with news for weeks and months and years to come.
I totally agree. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the reasons I installed it. I'm also always following news around the ZFS file system and getting better support for ZFS on Linux, and finally it looks like we might be getting decent encryption support.
Which I would have thought for certain enterprise use cases is absolutely essential.
I wonder, how many people encrypt their NASs or their SANs in an enterprise? People listening, I'd like to know. Tweet us at Linux Action News or at ChrisLAS and let me know. Do you encrypt your data center storage? I could definitely picture encrypting any mediums that leave the data center, like backup drives or tapes or absolutely laptops, but large storage volumes, do people actively encrypt those? I'm not sure.
I would have thought so with certain areas like banking and where it's really critical security.
Yeah, you definitely have controls around the data and restrictions and lots of protection. But encryption at rest comes with a pretty big considerable overhead when you have high usage applications hitting that drive a lot. So there's a big cost to doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little old school on this, but to me it seems like you definitely encrypt the network during transit. You definitely encrypt any data leaving the data center, absolutely. But often on the LAN itself, you just manage it with access control lists and file permissions. So I wonder if it hasn't been a big concern for Linux. But they have been working on it for months. The patches go back for months and months, and it was just really until this last week that they felt like it was matured enough for merging into the upstream code. So you're going to have to wait for these updates to come downstream to you. But there's 16,000 new lines of code. There's a fun fact, along with this new Linux encryption support on ZFS.
Yeah, so I wonder if this is one more small nail in Btrfs's coffin.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I'm going to take the other side on that now. I think Btrfs is essentially untouchable. All of the shots that it can be, it's not dead yet, Joe. It's just a flesh wound, and it's still going because where it's useful, there's certain NAS devices that ship it by default on the NAS hard drives. There is certain large Linux distributions out there that insist on shipping it, and there's certain crazy data mining corporations that run it on their edge network. They'll probably continue to do that for years.
Yeah, well, SUSE are all in on it. Their whole basically update strategy relies on it because you need to have the rollback. Yeah. And they're not going to ship ZFS. They've made that very clear. So I think, yeah, even if it's only SUSE using it, it's going to stick around.
Yeah, I'm glad because then we can really have a good turf war. Now we can have ZFS folks against Btrfs folks, and meanwhile us Stratus hipsters over here will really have the high and mighty attitudes.
Well, I'm just sitting here using EXT4. What can I say?
Oh, there's also a little upset in the Bitcoin community. Another fork is coming. Yes, we know there was just another fork. Bitcoin Cash just happened. On Wednesday, a group of Bitcoiners scheduled yet another split for the network in November, which would create a third version of Bitcoin. Now, the date's not set yet because it's based on the number of blocks. So once they reach a certain block number, the split happens.
And so this all comes down to segregated witness, doesn't it? Which is a feature that was being debated as to whether they were going to implement it, and it was going to help with this block size problem. And so it was implemented into the main Bitcoin, But that wasn't enough to stop the fork of Bitcoin Cash, where they just said, we don't care about segregated witness. We just want a bigger block size.
Correct.
And now this other fork is people want both. They want a bigger block size and segregated witness to basically optimize the block size as much as possible.
It's going by two names, SigWit 2x and BTC1, I believe, and its two main differences would be a 2 megabyte block size versus OG Bitcoin's 1 megabyte, and it would also include the new segregated witness. But that's not the interesting part about any of this. The interesting part about this is how fired up the Bitcoin community is. This appears to be a much bigger deal than the last split, and it's potentially going to be much more noticeable. There is a bunch of Bitcoin Core developers and Bitcoin Core community members who are very vocal. Henry Braid is one of these, a vocal person that's been promoting Bitcoin since 2011. He's a frequent speaker at events. He's very knowledgeable about Bitcoin and the blockchain, and he tweeted this morning, the SigWit 2x hard fork scheduled for November is an attempted hostile corporate takeover of the Bitcoin protocol. Fight it and educate people. They're saying that New York business interests are coming out, and it may even be a state takeover. And meanwhile, the SigWit 2x folks are saying, we have 80% of the hashing power. We have these former core developers on our side. Let's give this a go, and let's see just where the cards lie. And it's getting really volatile back and forth. This is the interesting fork.
Yeah, because Bitcoin Cash, it's not done massively well. It's done better than I expected, I must say, but people have just kept using Bitcoin, basically.
Yeah.
So you think that now this might be serious then? People might actually start using this other fork?
I think it could be the combination effect of Bitcoin Cash and SigWit 2x. Bitcoin Cash, if you mine, is more profitable right now than original Bitcoin. So if you're in the mining game, you can actually make more money with Bitcoin Cash. So that's going to eat away a bit at Bitcoin. And then SigWit 2x comes along with their 2 megabyte blocks and segregated witness and big professional slick industry backing, quote unquote, the corporate people that are trying to take it over. It could be really appealing. And if you get companies like Coinbase and BitPay, BitPay is one of the big companies behind this, this could by default just become the elephant in the room, could suck all of the oxygen out. I can't think of another metaphor. Could snuff, no, got nothing, Joe. But there's a lot of metaphors you could throw at this. Like the metaphor potential is high.
Yeah, we live in fascinating times with the whole Bitcoin thing. I'm just waiting for it to crash so I can invest again, because it seems to go up, crash,
right,
and then go up and go even higher than it was before.
Those of us that follow Bitcoin call that a sale. Yeah, you're waiting for the Bitcoin sale. Hopefully it'll come. As we record right now, it's somewhere north of $4,000, which is just absolutely insane.
It's mind blowing, isn't it?
I've been following Bitcoin since it was below $1. So sometimes it makes me want to break out the old plan B. But I tell you what, I'm too busy doing this here show, which you can find future versions over at linuxactionnews.com. Go to linuxactionnews.com/subscribe for all the ways to get new episodes.
And go to linuxactionnews.com/contact for ways to get in touch.
Yeah, and you can support the entire network at our Patreon page over at patreon.com/JupiterSignal.
We'll be back next Monday with our weekly take on the latest Linux and open source news.
I'm at Chris LAS.
I'm at Joe Ressington.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I've killed all our co-hosts and you're next.
I understand. Do you want to hear the loneliest tune in the world?
Sure.
This is the Mars rover, back in 2013, singing happy birthday to itself, all alone on Mars. Could you imagine how sad that is? And it only did it once in 2013.
So it only had one birthday, or just got a birthday party one year?
Just 1 year through a party. They consider its birthday when it landed on Mars.
I'd rather not have a birthday party ever than have it once and never again.
I agree. Recently, I've talked a lot about home automation, and one of the systems I've been trying out is Google's Assistant. I don't plan to use it much, but it's baked into my NVIDIA Shield TV and my Android Wear, so I've got it. And it's obviously on my Nexus 6P. And it supports like my Hue lights and stuff like that, so it's kind of useful, but it's not as fully useful as I'd say like the Echo is. And I've got one of these watches that successfully has been updated to the latest version of Android Wear 2.0, which thankfully, when I bought it with the hope that they would update it to Android Wear 2.0. And it just recently sent out an update to Wear 2.0 users that has broken Google Assistant on the watch. And so now you can't invoke the Assistant except for doing searches. It will do searches, but it will not do scheduling. It will not do timers. It will not do any home automation. And speaking of timers, kind of related to that, for a while now, reoccurring reminders have been broken on Wear, and this latest update did not fix them. And so you can't have reoccurring reminders that work reliably on your watch with Android Wear. It's so frustrating that I've essentially just stopped using my Wear device altogether. And I don't really have a lot to say on the topic. It's just, from a meta sense, what really gets me about it and why I actually get genuinely angry about it is these are lessons we have learned. And I know I make this point probably too much, but what the hell? Like, these updates don't need to break like this. Like, there's 5 devices they have to test against. It's not like the phones. Like, how did they not learn from Android on the phone and from Windows on the desktop before that? How did they not learn how to do this right?
Maybe they just don't care that they're breaking updates for the 10,000 people that bought the watches.
You're right. That's got to be what it is.
You see that the Ars Technica article where
about what?
Apparently they did a study and the Fitbit actually makes people exercise less.
Really?
Yep.
How?
Because people are super into it for the first couple weeks, but then they start feeling like pressured that they're not doing well enough, so they just give up.
Maybe. Yeah, I could totally see that. I'll tell you, though, from my personal experience with both Angela and Tadia.
Yeah, but they're also very highly motivated people.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like, Angela will walk circles around the kitchen to meet her goal if she's, like, say, 100 steps short. And Hadia will dance and walk in the RV while we're going down the rig on a travel day. If we've been driving all day and she wants to meet her steps, she'll pace the RV while we're driving down the...
They also seem like, by default, to be like physically inclined people to me.
Yeah, they are both physically active, but yeah, there's that. So I am the opposite myself. I track, but I mostly track it to shame myself into doing something, because I look at it and go, holy crap, dude, this has been a bad week for you. Get your ass outside. Go film something. Go do something. I do use it for that a bit. I don't like to be down on anything like that, though, because it all comes down to the individual and how you apply it. So I currently am tracking my weight via Bluetooth scale, and I weigh myself every day. I track my sleep and my respiration and my heart rate constantly during the night, and I track my heart rate and my steps during the day. I track my stand, how often I stand versus sit. That's automatically tracked. If I do deep breathing, I track that using my health app. And I also track my fasting. When I'm fasting, I track that. And I don't track it. I track it as a way to motivate myself to continue, because I am the type of person where I need to see results to continue to push myself. And when I have data that says you sleep better when you do this, your heart rate is lower for days when you do this, you are losing weight when you do this. And when I can, because I am so focused on work and what I'm creating and what's going on, that I don't pay enough attention to myself and my own health. I don't pay attention to my body and what it's doing properly, and I fail to notice trends. I fail to notice patterns that people observing me probably observe and notice about myself way before I do. I'm a dumb, slow man, and it takes me a very long time to realize that when I eat X, I feel like Y. And I should stop eating X because it makes me feel like Y, and Y is really bad. It takes me way too long to figure that shit out. It takes me way too long to figure how I behave, what I do, how I exercise, what my activity is, how it impacts my sleep. That correlation, I should have figured it out 20 years ago. So having data that says, hey, dumbass, when you stop walking, look at this curvature in your sleep that just keeps trending worse. And look, now you're a week and a half into slacking, and look at this trend line. Like, I can't deny it because it's my own data that I have tracked, I've verified, and the data shows when I do these things, I sleep better, I feel better, my heart rate's lower. So I definitely see how you could get super anal and get way up in your head about looking at these numbers. Like, well, I think sometimes Angela does go a little nutty with the walking, like walking circles around the kitchen. That's a little nutty. But for me, I'm like 30 days, maybe 3 months max, and then I'm just gonna like figure out what works for me, and then I don't need to track it so much. But for like 30 days to 3 months, super valuable for me.
Well, I think on top of that, it's also different there because you've gone out of your way to highly individualize it for yourself. And that's actually one of the things they brought up in here. They said part of the problem is that Fitbit's targets are unrealistic and not tailored to individuals. Like the 10,000 steps a day goal, for example.
Just like a blanket thing that they do.
Yeah, it was described by participants as unfair.
Wow, unfair. Well, you can adjust it, but default reigns supreme.
It said they strive to achieve it, but would often fall short, and that made them feel really bad about themselves and put them off of exercise.
Jeez, that's a cycle that could just feed
they
itself.
Specifically were also researching teenagers, which I feel like they're probably more susceptible to stuff like that as well.
It really just is begging for gamification.
Yeah.
If you could set goals, achievements, milestones, rewards around all of this stuff, you could really get a lot of kids out there exercising.
Well, if you could use some of the stuff that tracks your entire life already to tailor these things to individual people to make it fit their style better, it probably would catch on more.
Okay, so I know everybody likes to make fun of Pokemon Go now, but let's just look at Pokemon Go. If you took something that was AR, and it was connected to your health data. So your phone, Google Fit, and Apple Health have all that data.
How about this? Getting away from the whole Pokemon Go stigma, what about something like Zombie Run?
Yeah, only with AR. I mean, saying like the reason why I bring up AR is
put your phone behind you, look at the zombies chasing you.
Right, you could gamify exercise with it, and you could bring in silly elements like guns and bombs and zombies into the real world. And specifically talking about kids, and honestly myself, that would be awesome.
I feel like that might cause an uptick in like terrorist calls.
Yeah, maybe. But if I'm a developer and I'm creating something using ARKit, or I'm creating something using Google's system, the fact that you could tie in with their step data and all other health sensor data, and then you could augment the character in the game's abilities based on how fast you're moving, because it's got GPS too, right? So you could track how much ground you're moving, and you could actually have a player have more health. All these things that you could apply in game based on a user's real-time health and location data. I feel like that's really untapped, and Pokemon Go is like a little preview of what's to come.
I feel like the people that have the most data that would be useful for this kind of stuff are the people that aren't touching this market. Like, you've got Apple with the Apple Watch, and you have Google with the Google stuff.
But don't forget, these phones all have pedometers built in too. So even if you don't have a wearable, you're still getting steps. You still have GPS location.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that's the thing. They are making wearables, but they're not applying their wearables to health like Fitbit is trying to do. And I don't really understand why.
I disagree. I mean, I agree with Google.
They are applying it in the way that they're tracking the health, but they're not applying it in the way that they are trying to get you to be healthier.
So the way I see, the reason I disagree, so here's the thing. The Apple Watch out of the box, and I've turned all this off, but out of the box, there is a pretty extensive achievements and goals and badges system for your activity that they do. And then a step beyond that, they are getting FDA permission to test real-time glucose monitoring and oxygen levels in your blood. And they also there was a pretty extensive comparison of heart rate monitoring from like devices that are built to monitor your heart rate, and Fitbit and the Apple Watch. And the Apple Watch was consistently the most reliable performing, to the point where it could be used as a like FDA approved tool. Apple also has 2 labs where people are using this to do exercise stuff.
At the same time, I feel like Amazon is the one, or not Amazon, Apple is the one that's least equipped to do this kind of stuff, because I feel like the value of tracking that data is that you can then
do other stuff with it.
You can use your giant supercluster to
I agree
to figure out like patterns and methods.
Right.
And Apple doesn't really do that.
No, well, I mean, all of the health data is locked on each individual phone.
Exactly.
Where Google Fit is a system that syncs it to the cloud, and then Google can run massive analytics across that.
So I'm generally a fan of Google, and I actually like a lot of their data tracking, because I feel like
you're so great. I love it.
Listen, I feel like it can inform stuff, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like what you get is really not worth it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I feel like this is one of those places where Google is just stumbling with what they could be doing here.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine?
Like, they could have a killer product, and they're just not doing it.
Could you imagine if they could start to suss out trends and health warnings and stuff like that? I mean, there's so many legal minefields there.
That I don't think they'll ever do because of those legal minefields.
Yeah, maybe. So the HealthKit approach is a local database, and then the app vendors can create an app that talks to that via an API, and then when you install the app, you grant that app what it has access to of your health information. Then depending on what you allow it, they could run, like 23andMe or whatever it is, could release an app that reads all your health data and combines it with your DNA analysis. So you don't have to have a huge cloud infrastructure. You just have to have somebody coming around making a killer product that uses the data.
Although Amazon does have that cloud infrastructure as well, and they were getting into that health market.
Yeah.
Why haven't they announced a fitness band?
Well, it doesn't even take a fitness band, right? Wouldn't it just take maybe an API that Fitbit would want to integrate because doctors are using it? Like, imagine if Jeff Bezos goes in and says, we're going to take this...
Yeah, but Amazon wants every product, Chris.
So you think they'd make their own fitness tracker?
Why not?
And make it,
They made their own phones. I mean, it didn't do well, but they made their own phones.
Right, and even if it was like an Amazon Basics.
And when it comes to fitness trackers, there's not nearly as much competition as there is with phones.
Dude, if that becomes a product... That is going to be a mind-blowing prediction if you are right on that, right? Like, that's going to be one of those we'll look back and go, that was the thing Rikai called. Like, I'm sending an invite out to the entire User Air audience, to all of the airs out there.
I'm already out.
Total Solar Eclipse of the Heart Hangout. Monday, August 21st on the Pacific Wayside Crest in Oregon, right where the total solar eclipse 2017 is. Just like, it's actually, I think, going dead over Lincoln City, and we're going to be just north of Lincoln City. But I feel like the sun and the moon are so far away that the 20-mile distance really doesn't matter.
What Chris is saying here is that he wants to be real close to you in the dark.
Well, so nobody has signed up for the Hangout or the Meetup, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. No one has signed up. But apparently a listener of the show's wife is going to go. So that's happening. But
why didn't they sign her up?
I don't know. But Hadi and I are going down there. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Maybe I'll vlog it. I don't know. I just felt like if a solar eclipse of the heart's happening 200 miles south of Seattle,
it's pretty much a once in a lifetime event.
I should go, right? Like I should go.
Yeah.
I don't have any shows Monday, so I'm gonna go. I'm going to go down there, and I'm just going to try to film the whole thing.
Never invited the beard.
You want to come?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Plus, who's going to flip the switch for Ask Noah if you go?
Yeah, who's going to flip the switch for Ask Noah?
Yeah.
Who's going to edit Ask Noah?
Right.
Who's going to keep this network on the air?
I know.
This Chris guy doesn't do it anymore.
So if you want to hang out with me while the beard does all the work, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting Solar Eclipse Hangout. I think it's going to be fun. Could also be insanity. Over 1 million people are expected to come into the area. Oh, boy. You know what I've recently realized about myself, and it is not an attractive aspect of me?
Mm-hmm.
It's new gear plays a role in my excitement about creating content. So when I have a new lens...
I think that's pretty common, though.
I know, but it's a really unfortunate position when you don't have any money, because I sit around like, it's a huge element of driving content for me, because if I have a new lens, there's content in talking about that, maybe in the vlog or on this show, but also it creatively drives me to figure out how to incorporate that new tool into my shooting regime. It means that I go out and I have motivation to like snap this thing onto my camera and get outside, and gets me walking around and shooting stuff, which then means I end up with content for the vlog, which then means I'm publishing the vlog, and it's like this entire cycle. And when I go into these periods where I can't spend money for months and months and months because I took my kids on one summer road trip, so now I'm like financially strapped for 3 months, so I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I feel like my content creation suffers.
I mean, I feel like I'm honestly the wrong person to talk to, because I'm very similar. Because honestly, I could create Twitch content with the gear I have. It just wouldn't be as good of content that I want to create.
Right.
So I just went and spent a bunch of money.
Well, and and it's also like I hate stagnation. Like, so part of my problem is I've figured out all my current camera gear. I figured it all out. Like, I've learned how to use it. I know what it excels at. I know where it's weak. I know if I was going to replace it, what I'd replace it with that would do a better job at those weak areas. And so the need to like pick up this piece of equipment and learn how it works has subsided. And I'm left with, well, these are now just the tools that I use to do a task, and they don't necessarily excite me or not excite me. They're just, it's like a wrench. And so, how do you, so before you say what you got, because I want everybody to know, but like, how do you know though? Like, how do you know when it's not just, I want new toys to play versus this is going to push me forward, this is going to challenge me either creatively or technically or whatever? Like, when do you know it's you having fun with toys versus you pushing yourself?
See, I don't think in this case it necessarily is you ever wanting to have fun with toys, but just a subconscious desire to put out the best product that you can. And there's always ways that you're going to be able to improve. Even if it's incremental improvements, it's still improvements.
Yeah, and I could see that, because I do know that one of the things is once I learn sort of the limits of my gear, I start to do like this research process where I go out and I read reviews and I watch footage shot on different cameras or different equipment.
Yeah. How can I address this
right.
Even if it's a small issue, how can I address this issue and make it even smoother?
But then the problem is like, okay, well now I know how to fix the problem. I know what my current limitation is, and now I'm aware of I'm not doing it as well as I could be doing.
Yeah.
And so that's a really crappy place to be in.
So you want to spend a ton of money to fix it.
Why can't I say to myself, all right, smart guy?
Because good enough is never good enough.
Figure out how to make it great with the existing equipment. Why can't that be a challenge to myself? Why can't I challenge myself to make something amazing with simple stuff? Just what's wrong with me? Like, some of the greatest stuff that's getting published today isn't necessarily shot on red cameras.
Because it feels like if you're spending time trying to figure out how to work around your equipment, that's less time you're spending on making the content itself better.
Yeah, there's something about when the gear you're using is the friction point. It sort of just totally takes all of it.
It drags you down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like putting anchors on your project. Yeah. That's wise, Beard. So you just recently made a big purchase?
Yeah, I bought a GTX 1080 Ti.
Oh, the Ti. Oh, that's right. We've been talking. This is something we've talked about since early user era.
The water-cooled version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, when you say
all-in-one.
When you say water cooled, does that mean you supply the back end plumbing and cooling? Or
No, it's an all-in-one unit.
Is it huge? Is it ginormous?
No, it's okay. It's about the size square wise of a 120 millimeter fan and about twice as thick.
When's the last time you bought like a huge video card for yourself?
Shortly after I moved here.
So
almost
before? 4 years ago.
Yeah, I got a GTX 970 right after they came out.
A 970?
Mm-hmm.
So this must feel really good then.
Yeah.
Why a TI?
Best performance I could get.
Yeah, and if you're going to make the plunge and then hang with it for like another 5 years.
It mostly came down to I was forward-looking to eventually doing 4K 60 FPS stuff, and that's pretty much the only card in the market that can do it.
Wow. Have you actually put it in yet?
I've put it in. I have not turned on the system since I don't have a monitor for it.
It just showed up, too. It just showed up, so that's...
I actually had some trouble installing it.
Because it's so huge?
Well, kind of, but more so because I have a 320 millimeter radiator. And It was bumping up against it.
Why the hell?
Because the radiator is mounted in the top, and then the CPU goes, or the cooler goes on the back where the rear fan would normally go.
Yeah.
And it was just thick enough that I couldn't make it. But if I removed the top 2 screws that are holding the fan on, I could slide it in there.
I love it.
So I need to find some very flat-headed screws to replace those ones.
I don't know. I mean, just a little duct tape. You'll be all right. You'll be fine.
Well, the way it is now, the radiator is holding it.
Sure. Well, that sounds good.
So I guess as long as it doesn't vibrate, it's okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I legitimately, in the RV, I'll stack things to just, like, hold them in place sometimes. It's kind of like that, you know? Because it's like, you're not going to move it a lot, so... Yeah. Gosh, I don't know if I could wait. I feel like I would have to hook up my old monitor and just fire it up.
Well, the problem is if I hook up that system...
Your old systems with all of your stuff is not accessible.
Not only that, but that other system is supposed to be running OBS. So in this setup, it's a 2-PC setup, so I kind of need to be able to access both PCs.
Yeah, I was going to say VNC, but when you said OBS, I was like, oh, you're not going to want to do that through VNC.
Yeah, no.
Jeez, dude. Does Windows have, doesn't Windows have like GPU accelerated RDP sessions or something by now? I mean, it's 2017. What the heck?
Well, probably, but the other thing about it is that in addition to being OBS, I want a second monitor so I can play the games, but also view the chat at the same time.
Well, let's be honest. You probably want like 3 or 4 or 5 monitors. So going down a monitor is not the direction you want to go.
Yeah. Because at minimum, I need 2 monitors.
We're doing this show offline, mind you. We're not even streaming, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors in front of us.
If we don't count our phones,
and you don't count the laptop that's behind that monitor, which also has a screen. It's just kind of ridiculous. So I totally understand. In fact, now that we're sort of getting more involved with Discord, I've been like thinking more and more like I almost need a dedicated monitor for Slack, Discord, and Telegram.
Yeah.
And IRC. Yeah. Which sounds ridiculous, but they're like, it's like a heads up dashboard. It's up all the time.
I don't know. I feel like for you, I specifically would recommend not to do that though.
Yeah.
Mostly just because how distracted you get by people talking to you.
Well, here's what I was actually thinking is
put them all on that monitor and turn it off when you don't want to see them.
Just power it off. No, I was thinking like, I'm trying to observe what work is best at what time. And what I'm learning is if I want to really read something, like I want to read like, say, a document that's been leaked, or a new law, or a Linux Weekly news thread that's like super long, or an entirely new topic about, say, Stratus, the new Red Hat project for orchestrating basically a ZFS alternative. And I wanted to just learn all of that stuff. What I have found is my mornings are the best. The best mornings for me are the mornings when I don't even need any caffeine, like until like 10 o'clock, but like around like 7 or 8 a.m., I'm actually awake. I'm feeling great. I can sit down and read the shit out of stuff. Like, I don't know what's up in the mornings, but my attention span is like, boom, laser focused. And so I don't open up Telegram. I don't open up Slack. I don't open up IRC or Discord until I've milked that.
I feel like you just explained why your attention's laser focused.
Yeah, well, those were things that I started doing after I realized I was in a zone. Like I started doing after the fact.
I guess what I'm saying is, those things are the things that end up taking you out of the zone.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
So I guess your default state is you start in that zone and then you get on that stuff and it pulls you out.
Right. So what I figure is I feel like in those first couple of hours in the morning, sometimes I'm here in the studio, sometimes before I even get in the car. Sometimes what I do is I really strike the perfect trifecta is I start something rolling at home.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm working on, something in my head. I jump in the truck, listen to music on the whole drive down, and I just chew on it and chew on it and chew on it. No distractions. I put everything in D&D mode, and I just drive. And what's great about my drive is it's pretty far up north in Washington, so I just cruise control it. It's like, it just requires basic instincts to drive. I get here, and then I can execute on it, and then after I get it out, this, we're talking like it's 10 a.m. at this point, 10:30 usually, and I feel like I've gotten a huge amount of work done.
Sunk 3, 4, 5 hours into it.
Yeah. And so then it's like, then I transition, I start doing emails, and then sort of like maybe like we do a show usually around that time. And then after that, after the show's over, I'm kind of in the perfect mindset to interact with the community. And then I fire up Twitter and Discord and IRC, and I start responding to people on Telegram, and like I start just doing all of the social stuff because...
So if people want your attention, do it in the afternoon after all your work's done.
Yeah, because usually by 2, 3 o'clock, my focus is starting to drift quite a bit. My energy's trailing a bit. And so...
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you give me show notes that aren't done.
Yeah, but in the mornings, I'm always on point. And so it's like I shift towards like stuff that's less analytical, less critical thinking, and more socialization in the afternoon, where I feel like I'm sort of more naturally inclined to do that kind of behavior too. So that's been working. That's been working well for me. And I feel like when I'm in that mode, it'd be a great time to have like the dashboard up. Boom. Okay, Chris is in talking to the public mode, and all this stuff's up on his screen.
Maybe we should call it the Chris Fisher dashboard.
I just need like a master toggle switch.
How about this? The Ask Chris dashboard.
Oh, no. I'm letting Noah own that. I do need like either like an echo automation or like a big red button that I press, and it like sets everything, switches from DND to public or online or available.
Or a monitor flips down from the ceiling with all the stuff on it.
Social status online.
All the lights in the room start flashing red.
We could actually...
Red alert mode.
What's funny is all of this is achievable these days.
Well, I will take this moment to make a PSA. If Chris has just done a show, don't message him for like an extra hour after that because he's still working.
Help the beard out. Help the beard out because that's how he gets good show notes with good tags and good links and good
That goes
notes.
for everybody. If you know Chris, if you don't know Chris, don't talk to him after his show.
That is, what most people assume that once I end the show.
Yeah, once it's back on reruns.
That I'm done working.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother mode. So people what they really seem to try to respect, although they don't always succeed at it, is the live time. But there is way more work before a show than there is during a show. So if a show is an hour and a half long, it's minimum 6 hours of prep. Minimum. I'm thinking of like Linux Unplugged, which might be 8 hours.
I feel like the actual recording of the show is the easiest part of the show.
100%.
It's like an upside down bell curve.
Yeah. It is the most fun. It is the least amount of work because what you've done is you've done all of the work ahead of time. You've done all the research, all the links, you've done the guest coordination, all of it. It's all lined up so that way you can just sit down and chillax, which if you think about it, it's the perfect way to do it, really. So that way the actual production of the show itself is the least stressful part. So that way we're chill when we're doing a show. It makes a ton of sense. But then afterwards, you got to actually do all this business stuff. Like you got to put notes together and tags for the internet and links and all this stuff. And then Rikai's got to edit it together and put it all up on the website and put it out in the feeds.
My job starts as soon as everybody else's finishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as soon as that's done, it starts all over again.
Or in the case of this show, it never stops.
Yeah, that's true. This show is the easiest to record and it's the hardest to edit.
I feel like it's the easiest to plan and the easiest to record and the hardest to edit.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have a certain amount of difficulty in recording any show, and you just have to choose where to allocate it.
Yeah, exactly. That is very true. LinuxAcademy.com/unplugged. Man, if I had this back in the day. This is a platform to learn about Linux, all the stuff built on top of Linux, and of course, the low-level stuff. And they've got all kinds of systems to make it work well for you, including schedule planners that give you nice, gentle reminders to meet your goals, labs that spin up on demand when you need them. You pick a distribution, the labs and the courseware match that. They have paths for learning. If you just want to learn a specific career track or content, it's just, all of the boxes are checked with Linux Academy.
Chris, I got to say something here. I don't know if this will get you in trouble with Linux Academy or not.
Go from the heart, Beard.
I hate Linux Academy. You know why?
Oh, my goodness.
Because it makes everybody else as smart as I am about this stuff.
There is this problem, right, where back in the day, even I sound like such an old man. I kind of imagine to some people when I say this, but...
You had special knowledge that made you super valuable.
I did, because when I first started working in IT, there was not a Google.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Google even. And so this stuff, what made me extra valuable. And now what it does, and this really pisses me off if I'm being honest with you, is it enables all these damn developers who don't need us sysadmins anymore because they can just go to Linux Academy, become total experts on Linux using this platform, and then they can do the development and the sysadmin all on their own, and they don't need Chris. LinuxAcademy.com/unplugged. Free yourself from the need of a Chris. and learn more about Linux. linuxacademy.com/unplugged and sign up for a free 7-day trial.
Man, they figured out how to get rid of you. They should tell me.
There's no winning on YouTube. There's no winning. I have a vlog episode that somehow made it into the general interest of the RV community. It's got about 23,000 views as we record this episode, and it's collected a few comments.
What I'm learning, Chris, is that your fellow RVers, they're a whole bunch of assholes.
Well, it's an older, grumpier folk is what it is. And so there's this episode of my vlog.
It's the RV version of the Unix Greybeards.
It is. That is what it is. Exactly. It's 100% what it is. I've got this episode called We Had to Abandon Our RV. And it's dead smack of this cold snap we had this winter where everything froze. And it stayed below 20 degrees for a week. And that doesn't normally happen here. And work was really crazy busy. And I didn't properly prepare my RV for this. And so the water leading up to our RV froze, which wasn't our fault, but the water in our RV froze for a bit too. And I made a vlog about it because I was vlogging pretty regularly back then, and posted it. Months go by. It's got a few thousand views, exactly what I expected. The YouTube algorithm has figured out a certain percentage of the Jupiter Broadcasting community on YouTube that like stuff just outside of Linux too. And so it's showing them my videos, and it's essentially
the user error crowd.
Yeah, it's essentially like it's whittled out like a great group of people who are intensely and insanely awesome and positive in my comments. Always really like the best feedback I get on the network is the work I do with the vlog.
You're telling me that something Google did is causing positive comments?
Until it hit the general RV community. And that's when I noticed a tone change. Here's an example of a comment that came in from Hamish Ferguson. The comment reads, "Faggot." That is the entire comment. Just faggot.
It's nice because in this particular video, you had a time before it hit the public, and then you had time afterwards. So you have comparison.
I really do. Yeah, you can see it. You can go.
It doesn't happen often. Usually, like something spikes immediately, and.
By the way, a video in which my girlfriend and I live in an RV together. And there's also another one. So faggot was a good one. Also, I got typical liberal. I thought that was good. Chris, I also got gayest video ever. So the 90s are apparently in back.
I hear if you spend a lot of time around women, you become one of those homosexuals.
The guy that said this is the gayest video ever, I just said, thank you. Because what are you guys going to say to that, right? Like, what a stupid thing to say. But people are hostile, and what they're really hostile about is I boo-booed. I really boo-booed. I got busy, and life got busy, and my water froze, and some of these people really, really tore me up because it's RV basics to prepare your RV for winter, and I didn't want to make that mistake again this year, and so I got heavier and heavier into automation, things that could temperature sense and trigger a heater or something that detects water and sends me an alert to sort of avoid this problem. And as I got heavier and heavier into home automation, I ran into more and more issues with my Wi-Fi network in Lady Jupiter. That's the RV. It just crashed 3 times a day. Sometimes the Wi-Fi AP would stay up, but the DHCP service crashes. Which is disastrous when that happens in 2017. It's back in the past, a machine would have held on to its IP lease for like the 3 days or 6 days, whatever you got it. At home, I actually just set it for like 7 days because what do I care? I got hundreds. So I got hundreds to give out. What do I care if a machine holds on to an IP for 7 days? So at home, DHCP server 7-day lease, have at it, Haas. So if the DHCP server goes down for a couple of hours, nobody should care, right? No. Not in the world of Android-connected devices. No. If the DHCP server isn't available or it can't ping out to 8.8.8 after a while, you know what it does? It abandons that Wi-Fi network. It puts it on the forget list, it disassociates with it, and it doesn't even try to join that Wi-Fi network anymore. Imagine what a nightmare is. Imagine this for a moment. If your Wi-Fi network crashes 3 times a day, it's the only way you can provide networking infrastructure to your home because it's an RV and there's metal walls and you can't really drill through the floors. Like, you are limited to Wi-Fi. I can't just run Cat 6 or fiber everywhere, which is what I did in the studio and what I did in Angela's house. I just ran Ethernet everywhere. And I just wireless was something I put my phones on. But now Wireless runs my security cameras. It runs my temperature sensors, my water sensors, my lights, my heater. It's my internet access for a job that I use, for a job that I do on the internet. Like, it's fundamental to how I make my living. It's fundamental to how I manage my RV. It is like a utility at this point. It's as important as water and power.
I think that you forgot to mention the worst part, though. Wasn't there at least one device where if it didn't connect to Wi-Fi for long enough, it started just boot looping?
Yes, yeah. There's
that's next level screw up.
Yeah, which was a smart plug too, which was really awesome because it would power cycle the device every time it rebooted. So I had to address my Wi-Fi, and I wasn't sure what I was going to go with because I need to deploy something in my RV, and I need something that can penetrate metal.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to deploy something in Angela's house too, and I don't want to manage two different systems. And she has a multi-level home, so she needs something that will do multi-router mesh or repeating or boosting or something.
And you need something that supports both 5 gigahertz and 2.4.
Right.
5 for the fast stuff and 2.4 for the penetration.
Absolutely. And so I was looking at a couple of different options out there. There's Google Wi-Fi is probably the most common one, and it's also the most economically priced.
Mm-hmm.
There are Unity access points, but then I would have to also manage that and get like a little management. There's also Amplify HD, which is also another mesh solution.
I think the high-end one that most people go for is the Unify.
Yeah. And then there's Eero, which is one of the newer contenders. They just recently had a new...
Eero.
E-E-R-O. And they just recently had a new product release. And I was really on the fence. I was also considering doing some custom like ROM thing. And I saw an article posted on May 1st by Jim over at PCPer.com. Mm-hmm. And I like PCPer quite a bit. And they did a comparison of essentially all these solutions. And they did performance tests. They did mesh networking tests. They did all kinds of benchmarks as you'd expect from PCPer. And the Eero solution standed out pretty strongly. In fact, it was the best performing in some scenarios. It was the most reliable in some scenarios. It had the best range. Mm-hmm. It had the most intelligent on-demand mesh networking in QoS. So it sort of turned my head a little bit when I saw PC Perspective actually talking pretty positively about it.
This thing I've never heard of is really great.
Yeah. And so I did more reading. They have a subreddit, which I'll link to in the show notes. And one of the things that really turned me on about that was the developers of the Eero software and hardware are active in the subreddit answering like straight up just you got a tech question, they're answering them, which is mind-blowing to me right now because I have very specific questions about there is a Bluetooth low energy networking protocol that a couple of my devices use, and I wanted to know if they supported it, and then it turns out that like they have incredible support for it. Like they'll repeat it. It's so great, and to be able to get that direct answer.
So not only do they fix Wi-Fi, they probably fix Bluetooth too.
So I ordered an Eero system for the RV, and I mentioned that recently on the show. And so since last episode, I've installed it, and I've been testing it for a week solid. And so I thought I would just give you a quick overview. This is there is a main Eero wireless AP, and then I have one beacon. And these beacons, they plug into an outlet, and it's about the size of a large nightlight. In fact, they've actually integrated a nightlight into it if you want it. And when you plug it in, it syncs up with the main AP, and it becomes a one contiguous Wi-Fi network. And
it becomes a node.
Yeah. And it just extends the Wi-Fi in that area. And it is just with the base alone AP, the strongest Wi-Fi I have ever seen. I can't describe to you how amazingly strong this Wi-Fi is. I would say, just roughly measuring it, I went out about 2,000 feet from my RV. I walked 2,000, about 2,500 feet away from my RV, and I still had great signal. I mean, it is very strong Wi-Fi, and then you combine it with that booster, and it just blankets the entire place. It automatically boosts and turns down different radios depending on usage and stuff like that as well, so that's very nice. They also have different units that have Ethernet ports in those end repeater units, so if you want, say you have an Xbox or a PC in an area and you want to have it on wired, you can use it as a wireless to Ethernet bridge as well, where those beacons are at.
It's nice that it adjusts those signals because that means that it'll probably not have signals that drown out other signals in the area if you're only using one of them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. So that's all the basics of how the Wi-Fi works, and it all is pretty sensible. I did what I ended up grabbing was I got one of these APC units. It's about, it's not the biggest milliamp ever. It's like 11,000 milliamps.
I think you linked it in one of the shows.
Yeah, I talked about it Unplugged. It's got a removable battery, and it has 3 USB ports that supply power and 2 regular AC plugs. Well, this Eero, I didn't know this when I didn't realize this, but the base station is USB-C powered.
Nice.
So it's got a USB-C port, and on the other end, USB-A. So I plug that into one of the USB ports on this APC. Well, my MiFi is USB powered, so I plug that into the other USB port. So the 2 devices I thought would go in the AC port, or the AC plugs, are open.
And now you have AC ports.
So that's the continuous uninterrupted power I'm getting, is that little portable APC unit that I talked about, Linux Unplugged. Then on the other end, I have a Netgear bridge that Noah told me all about. And this thing is a device that he's used for his customers, and he's used it in production in their network for a while. And so it's pretty solid and reliable. And I thought, okay, well, if he's used this thing with the clients, I probably have a good chance that it's going to be reliable for me in my RV. And it's just a little Netgear universal N300 Wi-Fi to Ethernet adapter. It's the WNCE 2001. And it just takes an 802.11n network or whatever you have and converts it to gigabit Ethernet. Or I think I don't know, whatever. And I just plugged that with a tiny little 2-foot cord, Ethernet cord.
Yeah.
I plugged the Netgear universal N300 Wi-Fi adapter into the Eero. So it doesn't know I'm connected to a MiFi. It's totally ignorant to what my connectivity is. It just sees an IP coming from this Netgear.
Mm-hmm.
The Netgear handles all of the communication to the MiFi. The Eero just gets an Ethernet cord, and it's working super solid. And then from there, I go out to the boosters, and the Wi-Fi network has been rock solid. Not a single problem. I have full signal everywhere in the RV now. Videos start immediately, but what surprised me, and I don't really understand what the big difference is from my Cradlepoint and the Eero, all web pages load faster. Everything on the internet seems faster. YouTube videos play faster. It's weird when you change out a router and everything seems faster.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty good equipment. The only downside I would say is it's $250 for the main base station and a beacon. It's not that bad. And that's multi antenna and beamforming and all that kind of crap. So it's not that bad. But what's really great is if you're a parent, it has built-in parental controls and grouping. So I've set up. I don't use it because you'd have to pay for the filtering. So I don't really use it for filtering. But it does have a really, really freaking handy profile version. And with these profiles, I've done a little reverse hack. I've set up 2 profiles to sort of work with the sometimes very limited internet that we have. I have all of the equipment, the laptop, all the smart stuff, any tablets, any phones, any watches that have Wi-Fi, all that stuff's in one profile. And then the TVs are in a second profile. And I open up the Eero app, and I got 2 buttons. And with one button, I can pause all the other gear, all the stuff, 19 other devices on my Wi-Fi network in the RV can be paused. The TVs get exclusive access to the internet, which clears up some buffering problems.
Also makes everybody focus.
Yeah, and then I can unpause it, or I can do the reverse. And when I'm doing shows from the RV, when I'm doing live streams, I'm going to just
pause all of them.
Yeah, I'll pause everything except for the live equipment. The live equipment will get exclusive access to the internet. You can also set up timers, so if you always have dinner at 6 p.m., or if you always want family time at Sunday at 4 or whatever, you can have it just automatically pause all the kids' devices. It gives you an overview screen of all the devices connected, the amount of bandwidth they're currently using. If you look at mine right now, AT&T is throttling me so bad that it gives you a real-time speed test there at the bottom of the app. And right now my speed in the RV is 0.4 megabits down, 1.1 megabit up. So I can also see when AT&T's throttling me, which is actually kind of cool.
I wonder how they're doing that speed test.
Oh, they have. I asked one of the developers actually. They have a server that they ping and do like a speed test from, and when their server's down, they'll use like some sort of speedtest.net API.
Well, isn't there? Might that not cause some issues?
Oh yeah, it uses you. Yeah, it only you can configure how often it checks.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something because while it's checking, it'll use my entire connection. Yeah. It gives you an overview of all the devices that are connected and how much real-time bandwidth they're taking, what their real-time signal is, so you can see the health of all the devices and what their signal strength is.
Nice.
And this is the killer feature for me. In the app to manage all of it, you can tap a thing and switch entire networks, and I can manage Angela's network from anywhere I'm at. So it makes it really, really straightforward to manage multiple Eero networks. So I can have one at the RV, I can have one at Angela's house. If she needs something done, I can just hit a button, I flip over. It feels like switching between Slack groups, like you just pop right between different.
And I assume the management interface can be accessed via both the phone and like probably a web browser.
I don't know. I don't really know. It's so simple and so reliable that there's very little you actually need to do once it's going because I checked, my laptop has like an 850 megabit wireless connection to the AP. Like it's choosing.
I was mostly asking for people that might not necessarily.
I don't know if they do. It might be an Android, iPhone only kind of thing.
Okay.
Which is, the way of the world. It's sort of creepy in a way, but man, super well performing. I've just never been so happy with Wi-Fi, and it really all of our home smart devices now are just super rapid response because it's all over the LAN. The LAN is crazy fast as the devices can connect. And oh man, going from crashing 3 days to not a single problem is such a relief. Such a huge relief. So I give a big thumbs up to Eero, EERO. And also, it looks like going by the PC Per review, if you want another solution, the Amplify, AMPLIFI, was also another contender. The Google one, dude, the Google Wi-Fi stuff in their tests, the performances were kind of pretty good, but I think they said it crashed on them 4 times.
Huh.
It's good, right?
What about the Unify stuff? Did they do that?
If I was doing just something for me, no, they didn't. But but just going to just to address that stuff, if I was going something just for me, I might and just wanted one AP, I think I would do that. I think I would have done that. The reason I didn't is I wanted something that I could manage for both Angela and I wanted something that had boosters so I could get through some metal walls.
I think there is a Unify solution that does have like the whole mesh thing.
Oh, I thought it needed an Ethernet backhaul.
I don't think so.
See, that was the thing is I couldn't do. That was the other thing I liked is in Angela's house, Eero can use the Ethernet backhaul if you want, but in the RV I don't have one. And I was under the impression, based on the reading I did.
No, I think they might have 2 separate products. One that uses Ethernet backhaul. Mesh only.
I would love to know if anybody out there has experience with it because to me it's still totally worth trying. I won't be doing it I am so happy with this Eero solution. Legitimately, I will tell you, one of the best $250 spent on technology in a long time. To have my networking just super rock solid bulletproof, it's just, it's one of those things that you don't really appreciate it when you have it. But when you don't have a reliable network, it fucks so much shit up that and if you're a technologist, it is so frustrating to have, like, you're sitting back there, you're trying to watch like a video right before you go to bed with your significant other, and the wireless crashes, and so the Kodi add-on takes a dump, and it's embarrassing, it's frustrating, it's the exact opposite of what you're trying to get out of the moment. All of these things, or you're trying to do a show and Skype can't keep a connection available for its life. Like, just getting rid of all that stuff is so worth the $250. I really recommend it. And if you have another Wi-Fi setup that does like this mesh stuff, please send us your feedback. Maybe do a hashtag #AskAir and let us know. I'd really, or leave in the comments. I'd really like to hear about it.
Do not send us the same kind of feedback that the YouTube comments did, though.
Oh, what did they say about it?
No, back at the beginning of what we started talking about.
Oh, yeah, the vlog type ones, yeah. No, that's just what happens, I think, when you get to the larger audience like that. But what's funny is, what all those people are attacking me for is actually the journey that started me down here to end up where I'm at, where I needed to replace this. I wanted to automate this. For me, if I can have a temperature sensor in my water bay that automatically turns on a light bulb when it gets to 35 degrees and turns it off when it gets to 38 degrees, why not just, if I can do that in a few minutes, I can get that set up and then I never have to worry about it again. That'll never happen to me again. It seems totally worth it.
You took something that was a problem and turned it into a learning experience that made your life better.
Computers are great, and you can spin one up in seconds over at DigitalOcean. Just use our promo code Here's the Thing after you have created an account. DigitalOcean.com. You can deploy a droplet in seconds. You'll get root access, and you'll be online and logged in. I bet you can get it all done in less than 55 seconds. They have SSDs for all them rigs and a DigitalOcean dashboard for days, and a simple API that is intuitive, easy to use, and tons of open source apps are built around it already. JBot for life. In fact, our own JBot uses that DigitalOcean API quite a bit. Something they've added quite a while ago now, but it's still new to me because I've been a DigitalOcean customer for over 4 years now, is highly available block storage. Up to 16 terabytes you can attach to your droplet. Additional storage.
Yeah, if you want to like store a human genome or something.
Or, I've done an MB server. That was a really cool project I did where I took a Fedora box, installed Cockpit, and then I deployed MB inside a container and then used the block storage to grow it, and it was a fun project. And also, one of the things that's really great is the private networking. If it's all inside the data center, doesn't go against any of your transfer, so you can use like a back-end server for storage and a front-end MB box, and they have team accounts if you want to work with multiple people, monitoring and alerting, so you get metrics for performance. Of course, you get alerts if something's down. You look like a boss. And they have tons of pre-built open source applications you can deploy in seconds or just do a base rig, including Alan Jude's beloved FreeBSD. It's all over at DigitalOcean, even that BSD for some reason.
How many providers can you get ZFS on?
I know. And what's really cool about when they do it is they go right upstream. They talk to the Fedora project. They talk to FreeBSD. They talk to CoreOS. They get official communication channels and software channels set up with these people. It's the way you would want to do it. And then on top of it all, just amazing documentation. I've said enough. You need to just go try it. Just sign up, create an account, and then apply our promo code. Here's the thing. It's all one word. It'll give you a $10 credit over at DigitalOcean.com. Are you familiar with the international thing?
That's the Dota 2 tournament.
Yeah,
esports thing.
And there's like a $24 million prize.
Yeah, it's if not the biggest, one of the biggest tournaments.
Dota 2 is huge. Yeah. All right, well,
anything that's a MOBA is pretty much huge.
We'll have links in the show notes, but there was this big production. So they brought out this totally full-time professional Dota 2 player. Danielle, I think is his name, Ishton. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even bother. And he goes by Dendi online. And he got his ass kicked so bad. And they built up for this huge thing. They have this huge stage. They have this massive crowd. It's like a huge sporting event. And they bring out the first guy, and they walk him out, and he's wearing a white coat with a hood over, like a boxer. He comes out, his hands are taped up, like he's all pumped up and ready to go. Like, this is the best Dota 2 player in the world. This guy is rich because he plays Dota 2 so good. I mean, it's a big hype fest. And they're like, and then his one-on-one competitor, his number one challenger, and they go, and the camera just swings across the stage
to a computer.
And they pull off a cloth off a computer. And the crowd goes, and then one of the stagehands comes out and he holds a USB thumb drive high up in the air. And the camera does a close-up. And the crowd goes, ooh. And then he very thematically plugs the USB thumb drive into the PC tower and cue the OpenAI video, where they do an introduction of this bot that uses OpenAI, and it's going to kick this guy's ass. OpenAI is Elon Musk's project that he started back in 2015, I should say, with a couple other people. And they all threw in $1 billion into OpenAI to essentially create what they say a friendly AI that develops to benefit humanity instead of destroy us.
Is this the same Elon Musk that like a week ago said that AI is going to destroy us?
So this is like his hedge. That's legitimately what he's doing here. This is him and
this
some
is
friends.
his nice AI to fight Skynet. Is that what it is?
Legitimately what they're trying to build. Yeah. You can find out more at openai.com, and it's like AI for everybody. So they have a couple of different projects in the works, and I don't know where the funding exactly came from. I don't know if Elon personally wrote the check or what, but this team at OpenAI took a bot And they trained a bot in a way that has never been done before. They didn't give it any instructions. They didn't teach it any strategy. They created a copy of it. And then they set the two off to play on Dota 2. And they built in this metric system so they could analyze how the bots played.
That makes sense.
And then they could give the bots general feedback. Like, so the bots would play 4 human lifetimes worth of games. And then they would average out some of the decisions the bots made. And they would give them what they called coaching advice. And then the game would play another few human lifetimes worth of Dota 2. And they would coach it. And it would always have an evenly matched competitor because it was constantly running against a duplicate of itself.
Okay, so it's running against a duplicate. They're not like learning independently of each other?
I believe not. I believe as one AI learns something, they
both get the information.
Yeah, and then they have to refine and fight.
See, to me, it would make more sense to have them independent of each other because then they could be developing strategies to counter each other that person might not think of.
I wonder. I don't know the intricate details of how they programmed it, but this whole advantage it has where it, in a day it can play lifetimes worth of Dota 2. And so over this process, it has become this unstoppable Dota 2 player, and it crushed this professional player, but not just him. They brought in like 5 guys below him that are also super professional Dota 2 players, and it crushed all of them.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes much more sense because I was going to say Dota 2 is actually a team game with 5 players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was a big event being one-on-one. It was like a big special thing. Yeah.
So wait, did it play all of them one-on-one?
They did both. They did group competition and they did one-on-one against certain like really well-known expert players. It kind of made me want to play Dota, to tell you the truth. It actually did. But so they held a 1-versus-1 like big expedition, and the guy ended up quitting the game afterwards because he got trounced two times in a row. In fact, he even said he yelled at the thing, "Stop bullying me," before he quit.
You mean he quit the actual game, not like quit the game forever?
Well, no, he quit the game forever, he says.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
I know. It seemed a little convoluted, although there was a language barrier. So I don't know. It could have been that, but it sounded like almost like scripted to me. Like they had planned for it to go this way. The thing is that at the time this guy sat down to play the game, the AI had beaten everyone else behind him. So I think he knew.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of the same situation as the chess playing computers.
Right. Yeah, there's also that Go game that they say the next step is to build a group of bots that can compete against a team together of top human players. AlphaGo, that's what it was. AlphaGo. This is what strikes me about this. This is like baby AI. This is baby bot stuff. This is like super early. This is like if you're to put it in a human perspective, this is like a 1-year-old stuff. Maybe not even. Maybe this is like maybe 10 months old. This is in AI terms, and they're creaming us. They're creaming us, and it taught itself. It taught itself. It played against itself, and it taught itself. It figured out a game that involves the thing about Dota 2 that you have to appreciate if you're not a player is it intrinsically involves deceit. You trick people into attacking the wrong target. You anticipate people that are trying to deceive you, and you have to preemptively counterattack them when you know what is likely a fake attack versus a real attack. Like there is genuine, complex strategy and deceivement involved.
It's all a matter of balance and trade-offs. And I might lose this thing, but if I lose this thing over here, they're going to be over here, so I can grab this other objective.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's, oh my gosh. And the fact that it's beating us so handily, and the fact that what seems to be, to me, the unavoidable truth of it is these damn things can spend a day and they have accumulated a lifetime's worth of experience.
You know what would be hilarious is if Elon Musk, by trying to create a counter to Skynet, creates Skynet.
Hilarious?
Well, I mean, if Skynet kills me, I'll have been laughing right up until it kills me.
Okay, there you go. I'll put a few links to OpenAI in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. It's not just Elon Musk. Stephen Hawking also is pretty worried about this, and Stuart Russell and others that are pretty well known are worried about this. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. But yeah, they're really hyped about it. There's a video. It's about 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long, but you only really need the first 15 minutes because it just goes downhill from there. We'll have that linked in the show notes too.
So what I'm hearing is I've got a movie idea here where all the smartest guys in the world create an AI, and then we have to go find the biggest dum-dum to figure out how to counter it.
Wow. Hey, Beardsley, are you familiar with the Dolphin project? The
Wii/GameCube emulator?
Yeah, yeah. Super interesting project because they're solving some amazingly complicated technical problems, which you wouldn't, I guess, think of at first. You'd think of like CPU emulation. But
not only that, but on top of that, they're actually improving on the actual original hardware.
Yeah, yeah. So this is where it gets really interesting. They're working on stuff now where they could potentially generate shaders beforehand. They could predict where the game's going next. They could share shaders. Like, they're working on big stuff.
Yeah, you can add shaders that don't actually belong to the game that you're trying to play.
Make it look
to make it better, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they've been working on a whole new pipeline to deliver this kind of stuff and totally take advantage of the graphics card, and they've been testing all this various stuff. And this is going to be a user error edition of Linux Does What Mac Can't. So Uber Shaders 2.0 will be landing in Dolphin, and the GIFs, or GIFs, that they have embedded in their post really make it look good. Like, this is Metroid Prime right here, Metroid Prime 3. Oh my gosh, does it look incredible. But there's one problem. One problem. It's not Vulkan. It's not NVIDIA's shader issue with OpenGLs compared to Direct3D. That is a problem.
Is it Apple's ancient version of OpenGL?
Yeah, it's the damn Mac. It's the damn Mac. This is a problem that most Mac users may not really be aware of, but they have a super outdated, inefficient OpenGL 4.1 driver on Mac OS that simply are not up to the tasks anymore of handling some of the stuff that the Dolphin project is working on. They say it's not even useful. They're pretty much stuck because they're going to have to do like some sort of reduced functionality mode on the Mac. And they kind of blame some of this on the fact that Apple's getting all into Metal. Because they say, look, on Linux and on Windows, we have options. On Windows, we can use Direct3D or OpenGL or hell, Vulkan. And on Linux, we're going to use Vulkan. It's sort of obvious, unless it's an Intel card right now, we're going to use OpenGL. But for the Mac, it's sort of like, well, Apple's just stopped updating OpenGL for us, and we're just sort of stuck, and we're not going to spend the time to rewrite all this in Metal.
Yeah.
Apple has got to get on the Vulkan train if they want Apple users to be able to play these games and do VR. Like, they're all in on VR and all this stuff, but to not... Maybe I don't know. Maybe the next version of macOS, maybe they'll ship Vulkan. I don't know if High Sierra has Vulkan or not.
I feel like Apple has had so many successes in this way that they think they can't fail at like implementing a new standard. Because I feel like for the past decade, they've implemented new stuff and just through pure market force have made it work.
Well, sure, on the iPhone I could see it, but on the Mac desktop, I feel like there's just too many other market factors at play, and they don't have that luxury.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, I feel like they have this blind spot where they think they can just push anything and it will eventually gain adoption.
This is where Linux, to me, is the most refreshing. There isn't some strategy at play. There isn't some sort of long-term market goal. It's just make a great fucking workstation. And there's not like some big corporate overlord that says, we've really got to push Metal so that way we have a beachhead in VR in 2025. You know, or like whatever their reasoning is, it just doesn't exist on Linux. And sometimes that means we don't skate fast enough to where the puck's going. Well, but other times it means my workstation doesn't get drug around by the nose.
Even if it's not like something nefarious like that, even if they just think Metal is a technically superior implementation, which in some ways it does seem like it is.
Yeah, I can see it on mobile especially. But yeah, I mean, Metal, it seems great. It seems fine.
But they need to realize that if you just keep putting yourself on an island, all you're going to do is isolate yourself on an island.
Unless that island is huge.
But their desktops aren't.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a really fascinating post, and it is way, way, way above my pay grade. But if you thought building a Nintendo GameCube emulator was a simple thing, turns out some of the most interesting and complicated things happening in 3D graphics are happening with the Dolphin project. dolphin-emu.org, and I'll have a link to the specific blog post.
And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, there's also a SNES emulator. It used to be called BSNES. I think it's called something else now. But the guy there has a blog. He is doing cycle-accurate emulation of the Super Nintendo. So he's got a lot of interesting stuff with emulators too.
Well, who needs the SNES Classic?
Exactly.
And the NES Classic. Screw Nintendo. Can't stop the signal. Patreon.com/Jupiter Signal. Help make the network stronger and keep us independent. The Jupiter Broadcasting Network has been running Patreon campaigns for a while now, but only really recently did something click with me that I kind of feel like an idiot. And so if you haven't been a patron or you've been one before and you want to come back, we got something new that I probably should have thought of a long time ago, but Chris is a dumb man and it takes him a while to think of this stuff. We have created
no disagreement here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think we have created a podcast for our patrons. Why did it take me this long to figure that out?
Well, not only that, we gave our patrons a way to show off that they're patrons too.
Oh, that's right. We've integrated Patreon.
I feel like we're doing a lot of Patreon stuff lately.
We are. In fact, a lot of the stuff that says you get is like only half of it, because we also, I don't think we even mentioned the fact that we post the live version of our shows a lot. The entire live versions often get posted as long as YouTube doesn't smack it down.
Or the backgrounds we use there.
From time to time. I haven't posted them for a while because nobody seemed to...
Wow, Chris, there's people that have been asking.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, I stopped posting because nobody was commenting or liking the post, so I'm like, well, nobody seems to be.
Well, at least there's people on YouTube asking.
Really?
Maybe I should tell them to become a patron.
Maybe we should start posting it in Discord.
We could do that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, they're all public images.
Yeah.
I just didn't think the patrons were... I don't know. Let me know. In fact, let us know. One of the mechanisms, this is what I was getting to, the lead here, is we're doing the Jupiter Signal podcast, where it's like right now, I'm thinking like once a month, because you got plenty of podcasts, and it's really a lot about Jupiter Broadcasting. But
and then I joined Chris in the first episode, and he doesn't want to do it without me anymore.
That's true. So we might record another one very soon, though. So if you want to get that, there's one already published. There's another one coming. There's a dedicated RSS feed for each individual patron. Patreon.com/Jupiter Signal. Plus, you get the live shows, and maybe you know, go get some flair in our Discord and grab the images. Maybe we'll start posting them there. I don't know. Let us know what you think about that too on the Jupiter Signal thread. Patreon.com/Jupiter Signal. It's time for a little Ask Air. People tweeted us hashtag Ask Air and then sent in their question. The first one off the list, hashtag Ask Air. What are your secret not safe for work man grooming tips? Wow. I did not expect that. What do you want to, do you want to answer this first, or do you want me to?
Listen, I just let it all go natural.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so should we just move on? Here's my news.
No, I want to hear yours, Chris. If I'm going to be embarrassed as fuck, you are too.
Okay, all right, okay. Use talcum powder. That's my not safe for work. Use talcum powder. It's delightful. Get the Perrier version off of Amazon. You'll love it. I think that's what it is. Either that or that's sparkling water. All right. Hashtag Ask Air comes into the show. And it was, I love this one because it's sort of philosophical. Are you ready? Hashtag Ask Air. If money was no longer a thing, what would you do for motivation?
For motivation? I mean, do I need motivation? I mean, I guess it wasn't motivation. It was, what would you pursue? Sorry, I was doing it from memory. It was hashtag Ask Air. Money isn't a need anymore, and time is no longer a worry. What would you pursue? Boy, that was a way better. Reading it exactly was way better than the one I remembered. Money isn't a need. Time is not a worry. That middle part right there is the biggest for me. Time is not a worry. Just even just briefly conceptualizing that reality, it makes me feel elated. Like that is the number one problem in my world. Honestly, my answer feels like the stuff that I've been talking about for weeks. I'd get a house, and I'd do Twitch, and I'd be happy.
I would travel. I would travel, and I would make more shows and more vlogs.
Yeah, I would probably also travel as well. But
I would also spoil my kids. Probably not for the better. But
I feel like my road to happiness is a very simple road. I just need to figure out how to get there.
Yeah. My road to happiness really is if I had more money and more time. Everything else I am capable of achieving. If I had more time and more money, I could do a lot more.
Like, to me, for me to be happy, I want to do something that makes other people happy. I like making other people feel good.
Yeah, I agree. I love making people feel good. I love giving them something to, like, a routine to, like, tune into on their commute or when they're going to work, and having someone they can hang out with while they're driving. I also like helping inform the conversation. Like, to me, when I started Linux Action News, I had no idea that the most rewarding aspect of it was going to be deep diving into research and actually, like, contacting people behind the stories and getting clarifications about stuff. When I did LAS, I did the news for 10 years, and I didn't really... time allowed for some of that.
Yeah, you had to mostly be surface level just because of the amount of stuff you were
There was so
covering.
much more show. I had picks, I had a main topic, we had feedback to get to, but now with Linux Action News, it's just the news, and so that's where all of the time and attention goes. And the thing is Joe has a great set of contacts. I have a great set of contacts. There's a lot of people we can just ask directly what the real story is. And I did not expect that to be as fulfilling as it was. And that's something I really enjoy. I'd like to do more of that, really. So that's one of the things I'd do if I had more time. All right. Sam asks, I should try to say their names. So I'll try to say everybody's names.
Well, who's the last guy?
Okay, let me scroll down. Ricky.
Oh, okay.
So hashtag Sam says, Ask Air, I'm trying to cut down on my internet usage. I feel a little spoiled. Have any of you guys ever felt the same?
I feel like for you kind of addressed that earlier where you said you just ignore the internet for the first few hours of the day now.
Right. And this is like a recent thing for me.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really feel spoiled, but I also don't feel like I could live without the internet. I feel like I am a very internet focused beard.
I'll tell you, yeah, you are. And I say that in a good way, but I'll tell you where the red line is for me, which I would never cross and you do. And that is you leave notifications on during the night.
Yeah.
Like IRC even.
Yep.
I never do that. D&D turns on like at 8 p.m. and it don't turn off until I'm ready to go back to work.
I am one of those people that is 24/7 internet connected.
It feels like that leads to burnout.
No, for me, I just set very firm lines, and anybody that crosses that line gets very pissed off.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you won't be afraid to tell somebody that they're being dumb. But you still get woken up. You still get that buzz. You still get that.
Not really too often, though, because I've set that line so firmly, people just don't fuck with me.
Okay.
Until recently, and more people have been getting yelled at.
That may change, though. I mean, like, so now you're on air, and so now it's like there's always new people learning about you. They don't know the rules.
I mean, I don't
Plus, you don't want to scare people away too much, because, like, if people are, like, too worried to talk to you, then you don't hear